Almost a little sweet. What up, dog? Ah, cheers. Woo! Ah, that's some good shit. Ah. So far, all the founder stuff is real good, man. I recommend that. Mm. Ah, God damn. That was tasty. Use the bar of 15V here. Perfect for opening bottles, huh? Got a little bit of the space dust. This is some good stuff, man. If you want to get fucking blasted, get yourself a 6-pack of space dust, man. Holy shit. Ooh. That's some tasty stuff, bro. Ah. So what's going on? Whew. Yeah, space dust got a little more kick to it, you know. A little more alcohol by volume. See there, it's like 8. This stuff over here is some lightweight stuff, you know. 4. Yeah, buddy, check that out, huh? I think this hands down is like one of the best knives I've ever made. Taper tang, dude. So freaking sick, you know. It's got that flexibility to it. Little lighter on the click on there. Mm. I think when I started making knives, this is actually the knife I wanted to make when I first got started. But it takes you a while to get the skills and stuff to make the knives you want to make. And yeah, this is the hardest, longest cutting knife I've ever made. When I did the rope cut testing, this has done the best out of all the knives I've ever made. So I was like pretty stoked about it. This is a Rex 121 at 70 and a half Rockwell. So this is like the hardest knife steel you can get on the planet right now. There's some other ones like NPL1 or Supercore, which is like if ZDP 189 and S125V had a kid and it had extra carbon and stuff in it. But they don't make that in any like billet that can be rolled out or any type of like rod that can be forged out. They only make that in powder. I called them. I called Niagara Specialty Metal and I was like, "Hey, you guys make that at all?" But no, you really wouldn't be able to get your hands on it because it's so expensive. You'd have to pay for the billet. You'd have to pay for it to be rolled, and we're talking upwards of $40,000, $100,000. So it's probably just not worth it. Ah, strength. That has a natural micarta liners on there. I think that's my favorite. So it kind of has like a texture to it. You can't really see on my shady little camera right there, but I just thought it was cool. It matched the sheath, you know, matched the leather on the belt loop, and all that good stuff. So I thought that was tight. Mm. Whew. The bass is about to drop on these brews, you know. Let that settle a little bit. I think uh, I think natural micarta is like one of my favorite materials, and I had these guys right here. My buddy Aton at the Portland Knife House. Buddy Aton at the Portland Knife House, he had these guys right here made, and these are really cool. You know, I was making those little tiny strops by hand out of micarta, and I had to hand sand them and buff them up and glue them up and all that stuff. It cost a lot of money. Not a lot of money, but a lot of time. You know, but Aton at the Knife House, he thought these were really cool, and he made like a production version of my little custom strops. And see right there, it's got the natural micarta, just a thick slab of it, and it's got the leather on top. And you take, this is 1 micron diamond spray, and it's at the bottom, and you shake it up, you spray it on there, and these are just really cool, you know. So it's magnetic, and so it's got this piece of metal on here, and the magnet's on the bottom here, so when you line it up, Shimumi. So these are cool. The idea being that if you like fuck up the leather, you could just replace it. Or if you wanted to have like a bunch of different grits, you can have the same base, and then you could switch out the leather tops, or you can use a balsa wood top, or there's different tops you can get. So I thought that was really fresh, you know. He came up with this whole system, Aton did. There's some people that try to copy him, but this is all his system right here. And I've always thought it was really cool, you know, just hot. But the weight of the micarta, it's got these rubber feet here, and the micarta's got a good amount of weight to it, and it kind of keeps it from slipping around. So really like these. I had these at Blade Show West. I thought these are really tight. We sold all of them except for 2 of them. So I'll put these up for sale tomorrow morning or whatnot on Instagram. So they're pretty tight. I just had to go to the post office and get the shipping boxes for it. Woo woo. Woo woo. Ah. You see JG10. It's my JG10 bottle opener. Boom! Pop a top again. Yeah, I mean, I didn't make that. I mean, my idea was just the micarta, and he makes it. So, I mean, I was hand making leather strops with micarta, and it took a long time to make actually. So it's cool that he's making those like more mass production style. He runs them about $65, but it's worth it because you get a big old slab of micarta, and it's well built, nice piece of leather, and it's all well thought out and stuff. So I thought that was a lot of fun. Man, this space dust really kicks my ass, but I just I like it, you know. I just want to celebrate a little bit after the show here. What else is cracking with me? You know, I've been looking into doing some wood scales. So I picked out some beautiful wood burls, you know. I like micarta and stuff like that more, but I find more and more that customers really like the fucking wood. Hey, what's going on, man? So this is probably one of my favorite woods right here. This is a curly birch. You can look at the, you can kind of see the chatoyance a little bit, but not quite so much. But it's got curls for days, bro. What's your knife sell for? I don't know. You know, I've sold knives for $300. I've sold knives for $1,000. This Rex 121 guy is going to be the most expensive at $1,200, but it just is what it is, you know. It's got a taper tang. It's ground to about fucking nothing behind the edge, and I don't know. I'd have to say, man, I don't think anybody's knife will cut longer than this knife, just because it's just so fucking thin. It's the hardest I've ever gotten a knife. It's custom heat treat protocol. It took me 2 years to develop. This is everything I've dreamed of making. Is this knife right here? CPM Rex 121 at 70.5 HRC. It has a custom handmade paper micarta. Corby bolts holding it together, taper tang with natural liners. We're about, I want to say about 7th thou behind the edge, 15 degrees per side. This started out as a 150 thou stock, but I put a nasty fucking taper towards the tip and a fucking sick ass taper towards the heel there. So it has a good balance point. Balance point is right up in between the first and second Corby bolt. Yeah, and it's just a sick ass fucking blade, dude. What can I say, man? I like it. It feels good in your hand. It has this curve in the handle, and when you're holding it in like a saber grip, it just feels fucking nice. I mean, pinch grip as well. I really the reason why I have that hump there is because for a pinch grip, it just felt fantastic. When you're pinching the sides here, it just gives you good like lateral control, things like that. Down swept tip, so that when you're coming up, you kind of avoid poking into the gut cavity. Nice swooping belly right there for doing some skinning, yet you still have a nice tip. And then I wanted to have a nice straight section, straight blade section right there. So you can do a lot of different stuff with this knife, and it was just kind of a dream of mine because it always seemed silly to me that the craziest steel ever that could cut the longest was always in the thickest, shittiest blade. And then you would have something like a $5 Opinel that had way better geometry than this knife that had this crazy steel that was so goddamn thick you couldn't really cut shit with it. So my whole dream was always to have something with like an Opinel type geometry, but with the craziest fucking steel possible. And then to have the heat treatment dialed in so that you can have it stable enough to use, because these types of steels can be prone to being very chippy if you fuck up the heat treat, if you don't do it right. So I've always it's been kind of my dream. And whenever I've asked people like, hey, can you make something like that, or can you do that, they're like, no, it doesn't work, or no, that's too expensive, or no. And let's be real, it is expensive. I'm charging $1,200 for this knife right here, but there's somebody out there in the world that wants something really, really special that's been made by hand and not watered down for the masses, because nobody needs a Rex 121 at 70.5. Let's be real, and that's fine. I'm not that into cars, and they make Lamborghinis, and as far as I'm concerned, nobody needs a Lamborghini. But if you want the Lamborghini of knives, $1,200 is pretty fucking cheap, So it's pretty sweet. I didn't make the click as aggressive, so we can kind of like, it doesn't have a insane click. Would you ever make a folder in making folders is something like completely different than making a nice fixed blade. Some people, they make folders, they don't know up from down when it comes to making a really nice fixed blade. I'm focused mostly on a fixed blade right now. It's harder than you think, because you have to make a complete package. As far as I'm concerned, if you make a fixed blade and you don't have a good sheath to go with it, you're not making a fixed blade. Not trying to piss anybody off or offend anybody, but that's just part of making the complete package, is having the sheath, or having it come with a sheath. And when you make a knife, making a sheath is not very fun. Making a sheath is actually not very fun, because you feel like you're a knife maker, not a sheath maker. But I don't know. You have your vision. You have to complete your vision. Yeah. Yeah. The jimping I always thought was fucking stupid. Didn't provide any more grip. It feels nice when you're fondling it, but then when you're actually using the knife, it just always felt like it got in the way, or it just wore on your pads and stuff. So if you're actually using a knife a shit ton, like, you didn't want that. And you can see, I mean, people are always, especially when you're new. I was the same way. I didn't know up from down when I first got started in the knives, and I thought that, okay, well, I want some like grip on the handle. And this is a paper micarta, so it has, you can kind of hear It has a little bit of something, but hey, what's up, dude? Hey, Michael Emler's in here. Hey, cheers, motherfucker. Ah. Ah. Whew. Oh, that space dust fucks me up. Just rolled a joint. Ah, you fucking stoner. How do you down on your heat treat? Well, you take the spec sheet information as a guideline. I ordered some S45 in. Hey, later, you fuck. Fuck off. Get out of here. Huh? You're not even gonna fucking stay. I finished a beer for you. Later, Mike. Oh. Where were we? Oh, I didn't see you there. Fuck. Oh. We got to keep that down, boy. Yeah, that space dust will fuck you up, man. It's like 8%, you know? Some heavy shit. It's my EDC. Which made bug out was my EDC today. G10. No. All right, if you had questions, just gonna have to ask them again. I read them and then I forgot them. So heat treatment. How do you dial in your heat treatment? You look at the spec sheet. That's a guideline for you, and you can look at the spec sheet. You can look at the chemistry. If you're knowledgeable about metallurgy, you can see what they were going for when they designed the steel, and you have a good idea of what does what, and so you can have a good rough idea of what you're going to do with the heat treat. I think it's cool too to have an understanding of what is what. So that way, when you're looking at when they give you the guideline for how to heat treat the steel, you could see what they were worried about. There you are, you fucker. Man, that space dust is fucking me up. I haven't drank in a while. I mean, I was trying to finish these fucking knives, and it took a while to finish them. You know, I was pretty stressed out about it. I was like, fuck, man. But you look at the spec sheet, you get a rough idea about using that stuff as guidelines, and then it's really boring. You build coupons, little squares of the metal that you want to work with, and you can do 25 or 50 degree increments of austenizing temperatures. And so you can go like, let's say this S45VN. I know I want to play in the higher range of the austenizing temperature. And so I know that 2000 degrees is really where I want to play at. I can do like a 1975 for control. But let's say I do 1975 for control for the S45VN. And then I'll go 2000. And then I'll go 2025, 2050. I'll just jump right up to 2100, and then let's try out 2150. Your big concerns, or what you're trying to do when you're trying to build these coupons, is you quench them, you cryo them, you do all that stuff. You give them a 300 degree temper, and you take a Rockwell tester and you test each one. And what you should see is from 1975 to 2150, you should see a curve that goes up in hardness, and then you find the point when it drops in hardness. You go up in hardness from 1975, you're softer. From 2000 degrees, you're harder. Okay, from 2025, you get a little harder. 2050, maybe a little harder. 2100, maybe a little harder. 21, 25, maybe it starts to drop. You're trying to find when the steel basically seizes up with retained austenite. You're going to reach a point where you put so much alloy in solution, you can no longer get a proper hardening response, and it starts dropping in hardness when you go up in temperature. A lot of people are worried about blowing up the grain when it comes to going up higher in temperature. They're taking what they understand from carbon steel and they're trying to apply that to how these steels work. These steels have so much alloy inside them that does not dissolve, and we're focusing on trying to keep these undissolved carbides to make these steels have lots of wear resistance. That they pin the grains. They don't allow the grains to grow. And so the whole beauty of the powdered steel itself is the fact that we were able to break up these carbide networks that normally, if we did not powder the steel, would be these big island chains. These smaller networks of carbides basically pin these grains. So you're not worried about grain growth. And with S45VN, especially not, because we have the niobium is really because of the chromium, and it doesn't. It takes the most amount of heat to dissolve niobium carbides inside the steel, which means that these niobium carbides act like little tiny roadblocks to allowing the grains to grow. The grains are trying to grow, but these niobium carbides are not dissolving, and so they're not allowing the grains to expand. And so that's kind of how that works with trying to dial in the right austenizing temperature. For what maximum hardness you have to be in the range between 300 and 400 degrees Fahrenheit. What you're trying to do with heat treatment, if you're doing what I'm doing, which is making really thin blades like these, where they're really thin, okay, incredibly thin. The camera can't show you. Is you're trying to get the maximum amount of yield strength inside of the steel, so it'll support the really thin cross-section geometry. When you ask me, like, what's the best heat treat ever? It just depends on what you're trying to do. If you're making different knives from me, different geometry, different purpose, maybe you don't want maximizing yield strength. Maybe you want to extend the plastic curve. I'm trying to extend the elastic curve, the resilience area inside the metal. So yield strength, you're trying to increase it up high. Draw a line straight down from the yield strength. This whole area here is your resilience of when you can flex the metal and it'll flex back. Some people like to focus on taking the yield strength up the same curve and then stopping short and then having a. I'm not as concerned about that because if they rules, it's shit. And when you're trying to go really thin, if you deform behind the edge when trying to use a fucking knife, then it means the geometry is too thin for what you're trying to use it for, and so you would have to strengthen it with more thicker geometry, which means that you couldn't cut very good with it. So the idea is to go as thin as possible, which means you need to be as hard as possible, but you need to make sure that you have all your ducks in a row and that you're trying to have more favorable little structures inside your microstructure rather than the less favorable structures in your microstructure. And so everything's done with coupons, and you go from there. And then even when you get your heat treat dialed in, you still need a Rockwell test just to make sure that all your ducks are in a row. Just because you have the protocol, the magic protocol, it's still your responsibility as a maker to it's your responsibility to make sure it's still there. I can't tell you. I mean, there's a lot of variables involved when it comes to heat treating. It's very stressful because you can have things happen that maybe change what could happen. So, how was Blade Show? It was fun. My favorite thing about Blade Show was talking to the Russians, Kulturotech, and I got to talk to Dennis from Yanhook and geek out about steel, and I really liked that because they knew about all the carbides and stuff. And then what I also liked about Blade Show was you guys on YouTube can't comprehend how thin this is, and when they see, what's up, Dom? What's up, dude? They can't comprehend how thin this stuff is, and it was really fun I had a little sign up that my wife made, Jenny, that told them how hard this was at 70.5 Rockwell. And they would say to themselves, like, holy fuck. Like they were really impressed how thin it was and all that kind of shit. And then they would be like, I could tell they were kind of like put off by it a little bit because they were like, well, if it's that hard and it's that thin, then it's probably not going to hold up. And what I would then do is I would take the knife and I would flex the edge in front of them and I would show them how much like flex it had. And if you you can't really see on the camera as well, but the edge would flex at the tip. I would like put some force on there and flex behind the edge there, and it's really cool, man, because they realize it doesn't have the modulus of glass and shit like that. I mean, there's a lot of really bad misinformation out there about, oh, Rockwell hardness changes the modulus of elasticity of the steel when it doesn't. It's still steel because we have with Rex 121 32% carbide volume. What's the other remaining half? It's going to be, you know, what, 38% or 78, math is shit. 78% of that remainder is going to be irons. You're still going to have the modulus of iron, you know? So this stuff, it's great. It's going to have the flex and stuff to it. Let's be fucking real though, okay? I did all the heat treat. I did all that shit. You know, I did the best I could with the process control. If you're a total dumb fuck and you're going to take this knife and try to open a paint can with it or something, you're going to break it. All right, that's for sure. So some people would say that, well, that's not a good knife because you should, in a survival situation, you should go to pin. You know, sure. If that's what you like, go for it. That's fucking fine. My whole thing was whenever I used a knife, I noticed I wasn't doing shit like that. I wasn't chopping nails all the time. I found that what I needed the most was just for it to cut. And then I could always find some other tool to do that other stupid shit. So my relation to knives is make them hard, make them fucking thin. My responsibility is to make sure that they don't microchip from normal use. But if you're doing stupid shit, like you're fatiguing the edge with a bunch of ceramic, you're torquing and twisting and doing a bunch of dumb shit, that's kind of on you as a user. Uh, I get it though. Like I remember when I had like a Shun VG10 knife, and I was really excited about that. It had nice thin geometry, and that was just microchipping. And I thought to myself, okay, well, let me just take care of this. Let me baby this. Let me take care of it. If it's microchipping and actual just use from using it, and you're taking care of it, and you're sharpening it properly and stuff like that, that's on the fucking maker. You know what I mean? So you know, when I sell this knife to people, you know, I just wanted to make sure. That's kind of why I made the sharpening stones I did with the CBN water stones, and why I tried to get the strops available to people, was just so that people would actually have the tools they need to make this knife fucking perform the way it needed to perform. And so if you're one of those people that just refuses to believe that you need diamond to sharpen something at 70 HRC with 32% carbide volume and 24% of that being vanadium carbide at 81, 83 HRC, you know, anywhere from 5 to 8 micron sizes and clumps, clusters inside the steel, I can't help you. You know, you some people refuse to believe that you need proper braces for something like this, but if there's any steel that will let you know that you need proper braces, it's going to be this steel right here. And so, you know, people needed the tools. I have the tools for people. People that refuse to believe that kind of shit, Rex 121 and stuff like that, it's not for you. Just fuck off right now. Fuck off! Ah. Ooh. Mm. Woo. Hold on, boys. We're coming in for a landing here. I'm going to need you guys to remain in your seats and have your seatbelts fastened. Ooh. Oh, shit. Ooh. 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 Oh. Ooh. I'm coming in. I'm coming back. Holy fuck. I was gone for a little bit there, you know? That was some serious fucking brew, dude. You fucking pussies out there mostly drink like 4 or 3% beer. This is like fucking 8.9, dude. This is not fucking around. None of you little fucking pansies went out for a beer with me. Oh, after the fucking show. You little pussies. Oh, God damn. Okay. I'm coming back now. We had to come in for a fucking hard landing. Holy shit. We about lost control, man. We were dropping altitude. I had the landing gear down. We were in a fucking thunderstorm, dude. God damn. Space dust, man. Most of you little pussies fucking sip your beer. You're supposed to fucking pound it, dude. God damn it. All right. Bring your question. Hey, bring the questions back. Bring the questions back. Don't drink and heat treat, please. Hey, don't tell me how to fucking live my life here. All right? I'll fucking drink and heat treat if I fucking want to, all right? Those are all the factory second knives I make. Are the ones when I get fucking blasted and I heat treat. Bring the questions in, goddammit. I'll read them. I'll fucking read them. I'm getting a little fucking. Alright. What do we see here? Thoughts on Blade Show. I thought it was really good to be able to show people you can get a knife at 70.5 HRC and it won't fucking break when you flex it. It's not brittle like glass. That's what I was trying to say previously there. The most impressive thing I saw at Blade Show, they had a AR-15 pistol with a fucking chainsaw attachment on the front of it. And I thought that was probably the most impressive thing I saw at Blade Show. I think I should stop making knives because they can make a chainsaw attachment for an AR-15. And there we go. Going to pick up a PM2 and K390, bro. Some motherfucker, Andrew is his name. He bought one of my CB and Waterstones. He had put an edge on a K390 PM2 with my stone, and I felt his edge. I gotta say, dude, Andrew was like, Andrew's the most hardcore customer I ever had because he could actually put an edge on shit. I really like that. I don't have to tell him anything about how to sharpen. Andrew knew how to sharpen like a boss, and he bought one of my CB and Waterstones, and he put an edge on his K390 PM2, and it made me so happy because it felt like my edge that I put on my K390, and it just was so fucking sick, dude. Like I felt the edge, and it had like so much aggression to it. I would love to buy a PM2 in K390. Listen, guys, I'm really sad because I haven't been buying a lot of Spydercos lately. But if I can be honest with you guys, I mean, I've been really getting my ass kicked financially when it comes to buying like lots of belts for grinding shit like this Rex 121. This has really been kicking my ass, and there's no way for you guys to really relate because you guys don't make knives in Rex 121 at 70.5 HRC. And I wanted to buy that PM2 in K390 from Binto Box, but I can't. And it hurts because I've been the strongest proponent for K390 in production knives, and the fact that Spyderco is doing it, and they finally have a model like the PM2 and the PM3 or Para 3 that have a lot nicer fit and finish, even though the Rockwell tested by J Cool too or whatever J Cool at 63, it's fucking sick, dude. It takes a nasty edge, and man, I really want one, but that's kind of the problem with being a knife maker is you don't really get a chance to really buy other knives that you really like. You kind of, and you don't get to keep the knives you really like either. Like I made this. This is the best knife I've ever made. This is the best knife I've ever fucking made right here. This one right here, the Rex 121 at 70.5 HRC. Fucking best knife I've ever made. I feel so good saying that because I tested this knife and it tested better than anything else I've ever fucking tested. This is the best knife I've ever fucking made. And so I feel fully confident to say $1,200 fucking dollars, god damn it, you know? Like it just feels so good. And yeah, it's the best knife I've ever made, but unfortunately I don't get to keep it. Like I have to sell it in order to make more, you know? The life of a knife maker is you never get to keep the knives. It's not yours to keep. But the cool thing, come here, come here. I'll tell you the cool thing about being a maker. The cool thing about being a maker is that it's like you never run out of water. The knives are like water flowing through your hands. So your hands are always wet. You always get a constant flow of water. You're never thirsty, but you always have a constant flow of water. But when it comes to taking that water and keeping it in a cup or a bottle to keep for later, to store that water for later, you don't get to do that. That's not your right as a maker. As a maker, what you get is you get to turn the faucet on, and you never have to turn that faucet off. And that's what I get out of all this, is I get to turn that faucet on and I don't have to turn it off. I don't have to have somebody tell me that I need to turn that water faucet off because I'm wasting water. I get to keep that faucet on, and I get to always have beautiful knives flowing through my hands. When it comes to keeping them, I don't get that right. It's not my right to keep them, but it's my right to know that I'm making the world a better place and that I'm making the best knives possible. That somebody who knows how to sharpen, somebody knows how to heat treat, somebody who knows metallurgy, somebody that knows all the little details of how all this stuff works. While I'm alive, people get to experience that when they put in their hard-earned money into it. So I like that a lot. I think that's fucking awesome. You know? So that's what I like. How was the competition? I'm pretty fucking pissed off about the competition because I lost. I wasn't the winner. And I worked really hard. I really wanted to be a winner. You know, I made this knife. This was the best kitchen knife I've ever made right here. It's CPM 10V at 67 HRC. And it cost me a lot of pain to make this knife. I put everything I could into this knife right here. And when you don't win, you're really fucking upset. I feel like the event wasn't very well organized, but I don't feel like I can really talk about the details of it without just sounding like a fucking sore loser. And I think it's safe to say I'm a very sore loser. I'm the worst loser ever because just not a very good loser. Murray Carter was the winner. He won. I don't want to take anything away from that. He won. Fuck it. You know, the man won. I did not win. No, the only thing I got to do with this knife was cut a fucking tomato. I didn't move on to the zucchini round, and I didn't move on to the final round where you got to chop the chives. Whether that was my lack of skill, or whether that was the fact that the whole competition was kind of a clusterfuck because it's the first year that they've done it. I don't know. I'll let history decide that. That's fine. I'm a very sore fucking loser, and I really haven't really wanted to talk about it. As soon as I lost or whatnot, I had to leave. I couldn't stay there. I was very upset. I wanted to punch a fucking hole through the wall. I was really upset. This took a lot of time to make this fucking knife. Nobody else in the goddamn world has a kitchen knife 9 inches long and CPM 10V. And before any motherfucker says that they do, they don't have it at 5 thousandths behind the edge and something that will actually like flex like this fucking knife will. Okay? So don't give me a fucking break, you know. I've worked really hard to get this knife done. And when you don't win something like that and you put everything you can into it, and when you feel like you didn't get a chance to truly compete and express yourself, you feel really fucking angry, you know? So I don't really want to talk about it. It makes me upset to think about it. It is what it is. I fucking lost. But I'm the worst loser you know. Like, I fucking hate it. I'll come back next year. It's my goddamn event. Fucking let's drink. Let's drink, you fucking pussies. I'll tell you what. CPM 10V is opening my goddamn beer for this one. Oh, it's 10V. Oh, it's so brittle. Oh, fuck off, you fucking idiots. Goddamn. All the haters, dude. I'll drink to that. God damn. Ooh, shit. We got a foam, motherfucker. Ooh. Ooh. God damn. Yeah, I didn't win. Somebody else won. You know, when you're in that kind of situation where you feel you just have to be humble, dude. You have to take the hit. You got to take the loss. You win. What are you gonna do? Are you gonna blame everything else? Are you gonna be a fucking man and just say that I didn't win? So I didn't win. Next year, the event will be more organized. I've been practicing cutting. I cut my finger actually. Training. I was so angry about losing. I was trying to go faster and faster and faster, and I cut my finger right there. I'm a goddamn very competitive person, and so I don't like the idea of losing. So next year I'm going to train again. Will you still sell the Gyoto? I mean, it kind of goes back to like what we talked about being a custom knife maker, and you can't really afford to not sell something you make that's good. And that Gyoto is good. I like that Gyoto a lot. This is probably, I mean, you're never going to find something in a steel this hard, this fucking thin. I mean, that tip just about disappears. You know what I mean? And everything's been water cool ground. You know, we got a hand sanded finish on CPM 10V, a very unique handle and TerraTough material. Like, this is an excellent kitchen knife. It's going to be very expensive, though. This is a $2,000 knife. And for some of you guys out there who like, fuck you, fuck off, $2,000. I completely understand where you're coming from. That is perfectly fine. But it is what it is. There's some other people selling something for $2,000 that is not even like a fucking the tip of my pinky as good as that fucking knife right there. what can I say? You know, I mean, when it comes to the grand scheme of the world, you've got people spending $10,000 on a fucking watch. You've got people spending $100,000 on a goddamn car. Like, what if you can have the best of something in the world that's been made handmade by somebody who knows what the fuck they're doing for $2,000? In the grand scheme of your life and the income you make throughout your entire life, that's pretty fucking cheap. So it is what it is, man. I don't know what to say. But I will say that that was a motherfucker to make. I really had a come into Jesus moment when it came to making that knife out of 10V. I knew where the geometry needed to go to make this knife a really good fucking knife. But at the same time, it was like I almost just didn't want to like continue grinding it just because I saw how much I was spending on belts to make this knife, and I almost just wanted to stop just because I was like, dude, I don't know if I can afford this. It was about 20 ceramic belts to grind this the way it needed to be to actually make this thin and cut really, really good. And I don't know. Here's what I gotta say, especially to you other knife makers out there that think like all you need to do is just do this like secret shit. All you need to do is do this secret shit, and you'll be in the golden. But nobody knows what CPM 10V is. Nobody understands like 67 HRC. They don't understand what that means, you know. Especially, and then some people will be like, "Well, 10V doesn't show it goes that hard on the spec sheet." And like I said earlier in this video, the spec sheet is a guideline. It's not the gospel. So, hey, what's up, Reese? What's going on, man? So yeah, you know, it's it can be difficult at times. You know, sometimes you have like a real revelation where you're just like, what are you doing? Does it even mean anything? Okay, you got the hardest steel in the world, you've got the thinnest, hardest steel in the world, and it's not like bitches don't come running, people don't come running to you just because you do that stuff. They don't know what that stuff means at the end of the day. When you talk to your family, people that are like in the nine, oh, I've been in the nines my whole life, they don't know what any of that stuff means. They don't know what Rockwell hardness is. You'd be surprised. They don't know what Rex 121 is, and when you charge that much for it, and it's not some kind of Damascus steel, it doesn't look like absolutely like super gaudy and stuff like. I don't like really gaudy type knives. I mean, I like Damascus. I think it looks cool, but I'm under no preconceptions that it performs any better. You know, so I don't know. Like I think I thought initially that if I built it, they would come, but it's not always that way. I will say now that I know, it's not always that way. People, they just look at the knife. This doesn't look any different than any other knife. I will say what was cool about going to Blade Show was them when they could see it and see how fucking thin that was and that it could flex even though I set up the 70.5 HRC. Like that was really cool. I like that a lot, but I just don't know. You know, I think it's really hard when you're a maker and you can't afford the knives you make and you're trying to like basically sell that to other people. I think it could be kind of difficult, but at the same time, it is what it is because you add up the math of how much time and how much abrasives it costs to make, and you're just like, I can't keep doing this unless I charge this much. And so even though you don't want to, I mean, let's be real. Every custom knife maker out there would love to make knives for free. But you're kind of like an addict yourself. A custom knife maker is kind of like a junkie. He's kind of like an addict, and he has to keep selling what he sells in order to basically justify the next masterpiece he's going to make. And it's kind of a really cool life to live. It's like you're a fucking rock star, you know. I really like it, but it could be real stressful at times too. Let's be real, like. So that's why when you have moments where you can fucking have some beer and you can have your boys with you, you know, it's pretty good. You know, a knife maker's life is very lonely. You spend a lot of time in your shop. you're doing real boring shit like over and over again, and sometimes you don't see the destination and where you're going, and you just have to follow through. And when you fucking follow through, you get knives that people want, and they perform really good. You test them and all that stuff, and they fucking kick ass, and you're really excited about it, you know. So, but yeah, it's tough because you're as a custom maker, you're wanting to like keep pushing it. You're wanting to keep get better. You know, like I mean, 1 year ago, I would have never thought I was going to be pushing like fucking taper things like that. But now that I can do taper tang, like it really just like fucking your pride, your ego, you know, like you're just like, oh fucking, there's no other way to make a knife but a taper tang, because you know it's 100% handmade. I don't know, there's something about that when you're just like doing it all by hand, and you're by your eye, your fucking your skill, by the seat of your fucking pants, the skin of your teeth, and you're pulling that shit off. I think it's really kick ass. You know what I mean? Uh, but then you have to charge so much for it. But you know, you're sitting there. I can't tell you guys how many days that I almost want to fucking cry because I'm sitting here and I'm sighting down the blade, and I'm trying to see, okay, fuck, is everything straight? Is everything straight here? Do I need to go back and try to figure out how to fucking temper that to, you know, to try to get that to straighten? Like, it's pretty stressful, man. Like, it's pretty stressful. I think it looks really cool. I like to brag a lot sometimes, you know, because let's face it, like your life is pretty drab as a custom knife, but you spend so much time just doing like repetitive task stuff that like any chance you can get to like be like, yeah, fuck yeah, you know, you're really pumped up to be like, yeah, I do that shit. It can kind of come off as like being maybe a little too overly confident, but I mean, you spend so much time doing such boring shit that you're just really excited to finally get a chance to be like, I fucking do it, dude. So, you know, I didn't really want to put this knife up for sale yet, just because I was just so excited that I had something that I felt like was truly an expression of what I do as a maker. 70.5 HRC, 32% carbide volume at 6 thou, you know, 6-7 thou behind the edge, 15 degrees per side, 150 thou stock thickness with a taper on each side, you know, handmade, natural, paper micarta, you know, with some cool fucking grooves on there. Corby bolts, copper with natural liners, and a fucking sheath that I made and had to fucking sweat my ass off for. Like, I like that, man. And I realized that $1,200 for this knife, that's a lot of money. And for some people, be like, ah, it's too much money. That's fine. Let's be real, though. Hey, let's be fucking real. How many pocket knives do people have? They probably have like 5, 10, 20 different pocket knives, each one of those at 200, 150, 125 a pop. Would you rather have all those pocket knives you don't really necessarily care about, or something you can never really buy in a custom handmade knife from somebody who just busted his fucking balls to make, that no production company would ever fucking touch? They would never fucking touch this stuff. If you called a production company customer service hotline right now and you asked them, hey, can I get Rex 121 at 70.5 HRC, rapid cryo, nice microstructure, 6 thou behind the edge, double taper with a taper tang, handmade micarta with Corby bolts, G-Flex epoxy with a custom Kydex sheath with leather belt loop, they tell you to go fuck yourself because that's just not possible. They would tell you it's not even possible. You know what I mean? And it's in my fucking hand. It's in my goddamn hand right now. And I fucking made it, you know? So you can't help but to swell with pride. When you think about all the times when you just had to sit there and you had to stress about every little fucking detail, and it's finally complete, and you feel like confident that you're just like, yes, 1200, this is what I put into it, and I can get what I put into it out of it, and you will be happy. As a knife user, somebody who's really into that geek out shit, you'd be really stoked to have that. Like, that's cool, man. That's fucking cool. I'd rather have that than 20 fucking shitty production knives, you know. Look, I'm talking shit. I like production knives, all right? I carry those in my pocket too. I like them, man. But yeah. Yeah, 1200. That's a lot of fucking money, man. I get it. You know, it is what it is. It just is what it is. You have some asshole like me focusing all his time on one knife. To be honest, if I dropped the quality and if I didn't use Rex 121, I could probably make about 10 knives. I can make about 10 knives in S35V and at 58 HRC. Yeah, I can make a lot more knives. You know, being on the maker side is a little different because really your focus is something like that, where you're just like, I want to make a good quality knife, but I have to make it. You have to make that knife, you know. So like, if you made it out of like a softer steel and a lower hardness, you'd be able to make more of those knives. You'd be able to drop the price point and be able to make a lot more of those knives. But for me, it kind of sucks my passion out of my asshole. And I'm just not that into that. I'm not into like slaving away and making like fucking 20 knives a week. You know, I'd rather just make one really kick-ass knife that I get to put all of my talent, all of my skill into, that actually like has some fucking crazy ass knife, crazy ass steel, crazy heat treat, something that makes me like stress, you know, about it. And fuck, man, yeah. How much for 1-3V steel? That 3V just doesn't fit with my style, bro. I don't know. I'm trying to make really thin, nice, strong, slicey knives, man. So I don't really focus on 3V. I feel like if you want something in 3V, you probably just want a different knife maker. I found myself focusing more on something really fucking thin. And when you have something really thin, 3V, this isn't probably the best steel for something very thin. You'd rather have something like 4V, things of that nature. Because when it comes down to it, bro, what you want is a really thin knife, because that's actually what does all the cutting for you. You want thin stuff. You want strong metal. Hey, what's up, Jim? What's going on, bro? Thanks for joining in, man. This is Jim Ankerson's in here. I'm a big fan of his. You know, about 10 years ago, kind of all this geek out shit that we have today, there was only two big geeks out there, and there was Jim Ankerson and Cliff Stamp. I know he hates hearing that name, but you guys were like the guys that started all this shit, and that's really awesome. So you got some S40. I ordered it. They just announced it at Blade Show West, and I called up Niagara Specialty Metal, and they brought that stuff in, and they said the stock sizes that they had. I ordered 150,000 stock. Yeah, now look at you. Yeah, you fucked me up, Jim. I read all your stupid shit back in the day, and you guys got all you old school guys got me all geeked out on this stuff, and now I'm making all these crazy custom knives. It's good stuff, man. But I remember my roots. I remember reading your forum on rope cutting and all that stuff. And you remember that phone call I gave you 2 years ago when I was asking you about 4V? And look where I am now. Check it out, Jim. I'm making knives out of Rex 121, 70.5 HRC, fucking laser thin. I could flex that edge on this Kydex, dude. This is about 6 thou behind the edge, 70.5 HRC, 32% carbide volume. Look at that, man. The stuff you guys told me basically was the best on. I'm making it, bro. You know, we got the custom Kydex sheath. I made this shit. You know, it feels really good to know that you made this. You know, it's got the click, Jim. Hey, Jim, check this out. I put the taper tang on that shit. I got natural liners, custom paper micarta, handmade paper micarta. That's my logo. Big brown bear. Good shit, man. I've heard of Survive knives. You know, I thought they were pretty cool back in the day, but they're a lot more on the thicker side. Thanks, Jim. Man, Jim, that really means a lot from you, man. I remember you saw me coming up doing this knife making stuff, and it was only recently, Jim, that I figured out how to do some taper tangs, dude. That was a really pain in the ass. Yeah, Jim will tell you, dude, that stuff is super thick. The Survive knives. I think they're cool. Bam, it sounds like that's something you'd probably like. I would probably stick with that. Yeah, let's be real, dude. S45VN saves me money as a knife maker to grind and make knives out of. Show us that other knife. Oh, you want to see this knife, huh? This is special. This is a special knife. I would not have this knife if it wasn't for my good friend Roman Casse over in Switzerland, because Roman in Switzerland, little smart little motherfucker, like probably one of the best. Roman Casse is probably the best sharpener in the world. I think he's better than me, but don't tell him because I don't want his head to get too fucking big. But he's really good at making really nice polished edges. Roman got me this steel, and this is Vancron Super Clean, and it's a nitrogen tool steel. It's essentially like the nitrogen version of CPM 10V, like this kitchen knife I made in CPM 10V, and it is fucking killer. The reason why Vancron Super Clean stands out is because Vancron Super Clean has really small carbide sizes. So most of the steel you have, like in CPM 10V, carbide sizes are going to range to 2 to 3 to 5 micron. Sometimes they can segregate or cluster in the clusters of 6 micron, but for the most part, you've got carbide sizes in 10V still very, very fine at 3 to 10 microns, okay? So with Vancron, because we replace vanadium carbide with vanadium nitride, and the process they use to get vanadium, or excuse me, the process they use to get nitrogen in the steel, it will make these vanadium nitrides very, very fine. And so these vanadium nitrides are about 1 micron. And so the idea, the theory is that the finer the carbides or particles inside the steel, in this case, these particles are nitrides, the better it is to shape the apex to 1 micron and submicron, basically in the nanometer length, because after you have a micron length, you have nanometers, okay? Because you have 1,000 nanometers for 1 micron. Just to give you a scale of how small that is, red blood cell coursing through your veins is about 8 microns. You can't see a red blood cell with your naked eyes, right? That's pretty fucking small. And so for something to be about 1 micron and under a micron in the nanometer scale, then you have a really, really fucking fine edge. So technically, Vancron should be one of the sharper steels, but still has enough particles in it to make it very, very aggressive. And so the idea with Vancron, it's covered in oil because it is not a stainless steel. And the reason why it gets so fucking hard is because it is not a stainless steel. This is 67 HRC, and we're about 6 thou behind the edge. And look at that fucking taper. Holy shit. That is fucking thin. Yet at the same time, we still have flexibility at the tip at 67 HRC. And so we have the truest expression of a laser type steel. The edge characteristic that comes up on Vancron Super Clean is essentially like in between K390 and 10V and HAT 40 and Rex 45. So if you want something that takes a keener edge than K390, then you have Vancron Super Clean. If you want something that takes a little more aggression than Rex 45 and HAT 40, then you have Vancron Super Clean. The problem is, you can see this blade is covered in oil. It's going to rust. Now, some people are like, well, what the fuck? It's a nitrogen steel. Oh, listen to that click. Not going anywhere. Some people are like, well, it's a nitrogen steel. Why is it so prone to rusting? Basically, we've dropped the chromium just enough to make it an air hardening tool steel, but we have this steel packed with vanadium, and what's making those vanadium particles is nitrogen. So all the nitrogen is basically locked up with vanadium. So we have 16 to 17%, excuse me, of vanadium nitride. So it's got the most nitrides in any of the nitrogen steel, yet it gets the hardest at 67 HRC. So, like, I would say it's above that, but I would say it's nothing like Cruwear and 3V. Cruwear and 3V are kind of not as reactive. But when it comes to people that sharpen their knives, it doesn't get any better than this stuff right here. This is a top dog. If you're a geek at sharpening, if you've never sharpened a knife in your entire fucking life, or you don't know how to sharpen, Vancron is probably not for you. Sorry, just isn't. But it's for people that like. It's essentially like people that like automatic transmission and people who like manual transmission. People who know how to sharpen, who like manual transmission, they like high octane shit. They love fucking, hitting the clutch and fucking taking corners in second gear and stuff like that. That's what Vancron is. It's essentially for us, by us. Sharpen it on a brick. Fuck off. I'm not sharpening us on a fucking brick. You'd save it. Aker said you could save the goddamn Opinels for sharpening on a goddamn brick. I mean, this is a Gucci steel, man. This is Gucci. A lot of you don't realize how. Good. I'm glad Jim's joking. Yeah, sharpen it on a brick. Yeah, but a lot of you guys don't realize how difficult it was to get this steel. This is something I've been asking for. I've been asking on the Spyderco forums. I've been saying like, "Hey Sal, do you think you can get Vancron 40?" And he said, "Hey, we're looking into it." I had called Uddeholm over in Sweden, and I asked him, "Okay, how do we get this steel right here?" And it just was not priced for somebody like me to buy. It did not have the sizes I would need to buy. And so if it wasn't for Roman Casse at K-Knives Switzerland, you motherfuckers would never see Vancron Super Clean. So Vancron Super Clean is the 2019 upgrade to Vancron 40. And what they did was they dropped the molybdenum and the tungsten. And for some people, like, what the fuck? Why would they drop that? You want that stuff? You don't want that in this kind of steel because it competes for carbides inside of this metal. You only want vanadium nitrides in this steel right here. You don't want softer M6C. When I say M can mean both wolfram or tungsten or also molybdenum. So MO6C, W6C, those are soft carbides. They're not the sexy, hard tungsten W2C, WC carbides, because in the presence of chromium, which makes this an air hardening steel and makes it very annealable and things like that, you don't fucking want that in it. You just want the finest, hardest carbides possible. So we were already looking into buying Vancron 40, and me and Roman were looking into getting that. And when they told us that basically, oh, sorry, we don't make Vancron 40, it was like, oh. But then they said, we're making a new version called Vancron Super Clean. And then when they said that they dropped the tungsten and they dropped the molybdenum, it was like, oh my God, it's like they knew we wanted to make knives out of this shit, because holy crap, we get basically 16 to 70% of almost exclusively vanadium nitrides in 1 micron to 2 micron sizes. Holy shit. You will never find a steel at 16 to 70% volume with this much hard vanadium, hard phase particles inside of it, except for this steel right here. So very special steel, very exclusive, very hard to get fucking steel, but it's for us, by us, for knife sharpening people. Will it cut longer than Rex 121? Fuck no. Rex 121 is a goddamn beast. We have 32% carbide volume. Rex 121 has larger carbides, which technically might actually help it out with how long it resists being worn down. But we have 32% carbide volume. It's a balance between M6C and MC type carbide. Okay, so 24% of that is going to be the actual MC type, which is vanadium carbide, and the rest of it is going to be the softer M6C type carbide. We have a special heat treat on this guy right here. I wanted to focus more on solid solution strengthening with this material and have it at a high hardness. I didn't like the idea of doing precipitation hardness to try to get this material to work good. So I wanted my matrix to be filled with lots of tempered martensite rather than bleeding it all out to M2C and M6C. So I felt like it was more stable. I did some impact testing with this material. It seemed like with the austenizing and tempering temperatures we were using, we got a lot more stability compared to the guidelines that are used for making parts in the industry parts and things like that for what the steel was designed for. Those guys, I mean, they don't figure Rex 121 in when they're making those heat treat specs, okay? They don't think this is going to be used for knives, but if you can take that knowledge and take that understanding and apply it towards a knife, You could see what they were thinking when they made those guidelines for the heat treat. You could take what you understand and know, build a series of coupons, test, and see what you like. Test also real world, see what you like. You will see that I think this is the superior heat treat for this metal, and it cut a really long fucking time. So this is hands down the best knife I've ever fucking made. Now I've got a Spyderco collaboration and CPM 15V, and I'm really excited about it. I sent them the heat treat. I told them about the steel. Originally, CPM 15V only gets to about 64 on their recommended hardness, but I sent Sal and the crew over there at Golden the protocol they would need to push it up to 65, 67. So we'll see what they do. I mean, technically 15V can get up to like 68, 69. But I don't think it'll beat out something like Rex 121. I think Rex 121 will always be the king. So I think between Maximet and 15V, it can depend on how it's heat treated, and whichever one has a thinner geometry. And let's be fucking real, whoever sharpens that knife better will be the winner. But yeah, it's interesting. You know, I made a knife out of Maximet. I didn't have enough time to finish it before the show. I only had the time to finish 2 knives before the show, and then I ran out of belts. 3 knives, I mean. Yeah. 3 knives. I finished this kitchen knife in CPM 10V, so that took up all my time. The original plan, though, was to have like the big 3. I wanted to have 15V, Maximet, and Rex 121. Those are the 3 big steals, but Rex 121 will smoke both those. Rex 121 is a top dog, and then between Maximet and 15V, it just depends. I mean, it depends on which one's harder, depends on which one. It depends on how you go about the heat treat, and most importantly, it depends on how it's been processed, if it's been cooked at the edge and stuff like that. And then lastly, it depends, of course, the most important for you guys that actually play with these knives when you buy them and sharpen them, depends on how you sharpen it. That's realistically what it is. I find it's interesting when I see testing, people do testing or whatnot, and they're like, this is clearly better than that. And it's like, why not a Maximet collab? Because I felt 15V offered more advantages than Maximet. The reason why I like 15V better is because it's exclusively vanadium carbide. It's not muddled up with having M6C carbide. At the same time, there's no other steel that has as much exclusive vanadium carbide without anything else mucking up the microstructure. The M6C carbides that are inside of the Rex 121 kind of clump up the structure and make it larger. You have 24% vanadium carbide, but then the remainder to make up the 32% carbide is going to be M6C, which is a tungsten molybdenum rich carbide. It's going to be a more aggressive steel. It's still going to outcut everything because the raw volume, hardness, all that stuff, etc. Cobalt to help prevent your martensite from retarding. Excellent toothy edge properties. Don't go past 1,000 grit on this edge. When you get up to 800,000 grit strop on compound, I prefer the 1 micron diamond compound. That gives you the most aggression, most tooth, most bite, yet at the same time nice amounts of polish. That's the idea for how to make this perform the best in my experience. But when it came to 15V, what I liked about it was because we had a finer structure, but we had all the necessary carbides that I like, which is vanadium carbide. It is 15V less toothy than Rex 121. Yeah, be fucking real, dude. You need to respect Rex 121. It's 32% carbide volume, dude. It's 70.5 HRC with cobalt in there to help retard the martensite from losing its shape, etc. You need to respect this fucking steel. Rex 121 is a top dog. But what I'm getting at is that it's always a trade-off. Some of you guys are so single-minded about everything. It's always a trade-off with things. And so with 15V, because we dropped the M6C carbide basically completely, we mostly just focus on vanadium carbide in 15V. And we have that at anywhere, depending on how you heat treat it, you can have it anywhere from 21 to 23%, which is more than you have in carbide volume with Maximet. You know, there's a 1% difference, but with 15V, you have exclusively vanadium carbide. It's not a mixed balanced ratio between vanadium carbide and M6C tungsten carbide, which is softer. You can look at a chart, it's actually a little softer than the chromium carbide. So I thought that was really interesting because people think that tungsten carbide is the hardest. In the presence of chromium, you're getting a softer, structured tungsten carbide with the M6C. If you had less chromium, then you would have less competition, and you would actually get a W2C or a WC carbide, which is actually a lot harder. It's one of the harder carbides, which is why when they make tungsten carbide, they sinter and synthesize that separately, and then they put it into a matrix of cobalt because they don't have anything else competing with it. Because tungsten is actually a weak carbide former. Its outer sub-D electron shell is actually completely full, basically. And so in the presence of other metallic alloying elements, it's not actually wanting to make lots of carbides. Chromium, vanadium, niobium especially. Niobium is a very fucking strong carbide former. And titanium, which you don't really see a lot of because titanium is such a strong carbide former, it makes big, clumpy fucking carbides. You don't really want that inside of knife steels. But my whole point is the reason why 15V is so significant is because we have a very fine carbide structure for the given volume, and it's all exclusively the hardest carbide, which is going to be vanadium carbide. So I saw that as like an advantage. No other company on the goddamn planet would ever touch 15V except for Sal and Spyderco because he's so passionate about all these different knife skills, and he's willing to take the heat when it comes to people who don't know what the fuck they're doing when it comes to like sharpening and stuff like that. When they're like, oh, fucking do this seems like a little more cheapy, blah, blah, blah. When they're sharpening it on their grandpa's fucking Arkansas stone and fatiguing the fuck out of it. So Spyderco is the only company that has the fucking balls to touch that shit. So my fucking, I love Spyderco, dude. Because, Sal came to me, he said, for the collaboration, he's like, dude, any steel you want, any heat treat you want. And that doesn't mean you can pull anything out of your ass. Some of you guys, when you think about that, you're thinking to yourself like, "Oh, you could use magic." You have to be realistic. As a custom maker, I understand what steels are actually available, what steels are affordable, what steels are doable. And I saw that 15V was something that was very available. It's here in America. It's something that's very underutilized. And with the heat treat that I put on that, we can bump it a lot harder and we can have it compete a lot more. What about the geometry? Bro, if we got Rex 121 at this fucking geometry, you know that we can get this guy thin. I don't know, man. We'll have to see, dude. To be honest, Dom, what you need to put in perspective is that you have all kinds of people that are using knives. And Spyderco really has to kind of stay on the thicker side, not only for cost and making it more affordable to you guys, but also for the fact that you have all kinds of different users that are using these different steels. And some people have misconceptions about if the steel is stronger, you should be able to do a lot more egregious shit with it. So they do have to idiot-proof some stuff. You can see this knife is $1,200, and you need to respect that because I'm 6 thou behind the edge, 15 degree per side. I have a double distal taper. Some of you guys are like, oh, okay, I can get the cheaper version of Spyderco. Spyderco, when they look at this, they're like, that is impossible. They when Spyderco looks at that, they tip their hat at me because they're like, wow, holy fuck, we can't do that on a mass production scale. So what do you want? Do you want a custom knife or do you want a production knife? Do you want something you can afford? Or do you want to get off your ass and fucking pay for a fucking real man's knife, a goddamn custom knife made by me? I mean, figure it out, dude. Figure it out. Geometry, you can't bitch about the geometry Spyderco decides to put on it because I already gave him the heat treat and I gave him the steel. And you being able to buy that for a reasonable price is pretty kick-ass. You want thin geometry? Come to me. Come to me. I will sit there. I will bitch and moan as I grind that shit super fucking thin. You guys have no idea how difficult it is to grind something this thin. You think it's just a number. It's not just a number. It's a number to my bank account to grind it. It's a number to my sweat, blood, and tears when I grind that fucking shit. It's not a joke. It's serious. When you're sitting there and you're 10 belts into grinding something and you realize you need 5 more belts to sit there and grind it to the geometry you want, it's fucking serious, man. And then you want to bitch and moan. If I had to make 1,000 of these, I don't know if I could do it, man. I don't know if I could do it. Yeah, 15 regrinds in the future. Yeah, just send them over to me and grind them. The regrinds were $100. And I thought that was interesting to put that out there to people. It's like, okay, well, regrind is $100. And I just I really just got tired of doing it just because like I got tired of telling people it's $100 and they were like, "Oh, it's too much." Like it wore me out, and it made me say like, it made me say like, I don't know. I don't give a fuck about doing regrinds anymore, just because I was so fucking fed up with like trying to explain to people why it was worth it or why I was charging $100 because people thought I was like price gouging or something, and I was just like, man, go fuck yourself. I don't want to do regrinds anymore. I'll tell you what I want to do. I want to focus on my custom work because that has my name on it. You know, I realized I put my stamp on the regrinds I did, but I just didn't feel like people appreciated what was going into that. And when I said $100, which is actually fairly affordable for the amount of work I put into that, and when they're telling me like, "Oh, I don't know if it's worth that," it's like, fuck off. Go grind it yourself on a fucking stone, you idiot. I don't really feel like doing that anymore. So sorry guys, but I'm human. I'm only one person doing all this shit, and I'm a sensitive man. And if my feelings get hurt, I don't really feel like doing something anymore, you know? But when I have to, yeah, most people, thanks, Jim. Most people won't even pay $100 for a fucking knife, let alone a regrind. So yeah, Snowflake. I am a. You know what my zip code is? I'm over here on the West Coast, dude. Still though, man, like you put your blood, sweat, and tears into something somebody doesn't appreciate, and you're only trying to make your ends meet to pay your fucking bills to do it. Okay. And then when they're just like, I don't know. Meanwhile, they're buying like 30 different knives at $150 a piece, and they're bitching about how the geometry sucks. It's like, you fucking idiot. Why don't you just stop buying at 20 knives you're never going to use? You can only use, hey, newsflash, fucking idiot. You can only use one knife at a time. What are you going to use 2 knives at a time like a fucking retard? You can only use one knife at a time. Why not have that one knife you're using actually have a nice grind on it, a custom handmade grind while I'm still goddamn breathing that can actually cut shit, you fucking retard. You know, sorry for getting a little fucking upset about that there a little bit, you know, but it's for real. I just find it annoying, but people don't know what they don't know. So fuck the regrinds. I'm not doing any more goddamn regrinds. You know, I was already hooking people up. Yeah. Oh, I'm noticing some serious chest. You fucking turned on by that shit, you little fucking queer. Come here, careless. I'll still fucking rock your body. Mm. I like S14 for a knife. 6. Yeah. You know, that's interesting. Guilty, motherfucker. Careless, I can't wait till you come to the US, man. I'm gonna fucking body slam you as soon as I fucking see you, you son of a bitch. If you guys don't know who Careless is, Careless Practical Sharpening, he makes water stones like me. But to be honest, the guy's a goddamn fucking abrasive genius. There's no way I can compete with him. I make CBN stones because I'm a sharpener. I have to make them just because I can't have my vision for what a sharpening stone should be muddled up by any fucking asshole like him. But Careless is actually a really brilliant abrasive guy. Like he's like me, but with abrasives. And so goddamn, what can I say? I mean, when he starts making stones and actually putting them out there instead of being a little pussy, you guys should definitely look into maybe checking those out. Those are pretty fucking sweet. Yeah, thank you, Jim. Yeah, hey, fuck off, Careless. Jim says river rocks are best, so you should fucking kill yourself. Pussy. Come here, boy. I'm thinking I'm getting weak. I still body slam your ass. What are you, fucking 320? Boy. Mm. You know what was interesting about I got to talk to the Russian bros over at Blade Show West, and that was pretty kick ass because they are super into stainless steel, powdered stainless steel. Now, originally, you know, when you have guys like Cliff Stamp and stuff like that telling you like, oh, that's just not doable because it'll microchip and it'll be super shitty and it's not good, blah blah blah. Like that's not necessarily true. And these guys have kind of really proved the point. And I got a chance to talk to the heat treat master Uh, I got to talk to the heat treat master, Dennis Yan Hook, and hang out with cultural tech guys like Valentine and the other dude. That was really kick ass because I they barely speak fucking English. I don't speak any Russian, but they knew everything about like carbides and stuff. They know about carbonate solution, M7C3, MC type, tempered Martensite, all the stuff that all the constituents that make up a microstructure. They understand all that stuff. They understand stability and sharpening and different abrasive stones. So to be honest, I spoke more fluently with them than some people who speak fluent English but don't know anything about metal. So I had a really good time at the show. That was the biggest highlight of the show, was hanging out with them and talking to them. They are super serious about it over there. And they don't have any misconceptions about durability and, oh, it's got to be tough as fuck and blah, blah, blah. And they're very serious about it. There's no free hand sharpening. They're all about fixed angle stuff. They're all about basically taking these stainless high carbide steels to the maximum amount of hardness they can. But don't kid yourself, these guys are really focusing on heat treats and geometries and edge angles and stuff like that really pull it off and make it stable for actual use. And it's fucking crazy cool. Like, these guys are really badass, man. Like, I really like what they do. And it was really fun to geek out with them on it. And I'm kind of a big tool steel guy just because I like the idea of having higher hardness and a little more durability and stability. But they've got me kind of a little bit more thinking about some high carbide stainless, just because they had a really good point when they talked to me. You know, like I said, these guys don't speak a ton of English, but what they were telling me is that, you know, in real world use, they're like, yeah, we know that the Rex 121 outcuts everything. But in real world use, it is nice to have an edge that does not corrode, because Rex 121 will corrode. And if you factor that into how long something edge will take, yeah, they did take, yeah, because they're jacking the hardness. Like, I never knew S125V can go to 65 RC. And so when I first did Rex 120 or Rex, excuse me, I'm getting mixed up. S125V, I went to about 63 RC just because I was so scared. All the stuff that we have in America about what these steels can do basically tells you it's too brittle, it's too chippy, blah blah blah. Listen, man, I'm under the gun. Like, I'm under a fucking literal gun because I have to make money at this, and at the same time I have to explore and see what's possible. And so when I first got into S125V, I was like, okay, I'm going to try one at 61, 62, and I'm going to try one at like 62, 63 RC and see what I think about it, see if I can make it work. Because I've played with production stuff from Spyderco, and it did seem a little bit more microchippy, but they didn't really have the attention to detail and the ability to really like sit there and baby the heat treat and the processing to really make that steel really crazy, because they had to kind of water it down a little bit to both be able to still make it profitable for the production volumes that they're hitting, and also for the wider audience of folks that were going to be out there doing a bunch of stupid shit with their knives, you know what I mean? But it turns out this steel is very capable. S125V is very capable of going up to 65 RC. And I played with S110V because I was curious about the cobalt and niobium editions, and that would maybe pop even more with custom heat treat. As it turns out, it looks like S125V is better. It's nice for making the steel kind of fucking have more horsepower. Is that you have more chromium, which basically kind of fucks up the carbon chromium balance of what you would like for being able to put lots of carbon in solution and kind of reduce the retained austenite to make the steel really hard. And so as it turned out with my heat treating, with the Rockwell testing and stuff I was doing, it looked like S125V was actually the more premium horse to bet on when it came to what do you want to invest your money into? You want to invest in the S110V or S125V? And it's very curious because some people were saying like, okay, we can really fucking do some horsepower and firepower with the S125 with the S110V because it has those additions of cobalt and niobium, but better carbon chromium balance, which means I didn't have to like work as hard to put as much chromium in solution to make it hard, and as well as the fact that that stuff should fucking pop. So I like that. Yeah, I talked to them about that. The Russians, I talked to them about the rope cutting competitions. They said that they don't do them anymore. And that the guy that I talked to, Dennis at Yenhook, he was actually the guy that was winning them all the time. And then they kind of, I tell you what we need. I tell you what we need. We got, fuck out of here. We got 2 more beers left here, boys. Prost! Oh. Let me tell you about a good time. I'm wearing a tuxedo t-shirt, and I'm just in the front row of a band, and Jesus is just fucking rocking, and I'm just like, hell yeah, man. God damn. Ooh, give me a paper towel, boys. Fucked up. Cowboy boots and jean shorts. You don't like Talladega Nights, you can fuck right off this channel, I'll tell you what. Like, I'm on fire! Tom Cruise, put me out with the witchcraft. Oh, fuck. Yeah, but I was saying that they stopped that competition. Bro, like, I'm pretty upset about that. But it was really cool. I watched a video about it. So the Russians, they like to polish the edges a little bit more. Between us, I feel like they cheat a little bit because they wrap the manila rope in tape. And what that allows them to do is, if you've ever cut manila rope in your life, if you don't wrap manila rope in tape, if you have a polished edge, let's say up to 1,000 grit, holy fuck, is it difficult to cut that shit? Oh, god damn. So those little motherfuckers, they wrap that shit in masking tape, and it allows them to take. They like to polish the fuck out of the edge, and then they'll just do a push cut straight through. But a little bit of a, it's a push cut with a little bit of a drawl to it, either forward or backward. It depends on who the fuck is doing it. But you'll see all these different videos from Pavel Sandor, all these Eastern European dudes. They seem like they all wrap their rope up in tape. But in their defense, they are doing like 1.5 inch, 1 inch manila rope. It's fucking crazy. And they'll cut that, and for the competition, then they'll do some number of cuts. I can't remember how much number of cuts, but then they'll pass it to the judge, and he'll take it on like a piece of 1/4 inch manila rope or something really small, still wrapped in tape, and he'll measure how much pounds it takes to cut. So he'll do, like, let's say 20 cuts. He'll do 20 cuts on the manila rope, or 50 cuts, or however fucking many he does. Then he'll pass it to the judge. The judge will take the knife on 1/4 inch manila rope wrapped in tape on a scale, on a bathroom scale, and he'll carefully measure the least amount of force or pounds it takes to separate that rope. And in Russia, if it takes about, God, don't quote me on it. I think it was like 7 kilograms or whatnot. If it takes 7 kilograms to separate that 1/4 inch rope wrapped in tape, then your knife is done. And so they'll measure however many thousands of cuts it takes to cut 1.5 inch or 1 inch manila rope wrapped in masking tape, and then they'll go and they'll measure the weight it takes to cut, and your knife is done when it takes over 7 kilograms to cut the judge's piece of rope, which is thinner, at 1/4 inch wrapped in manila. So it was like, oh fuck. Listen, hey guys, they still did that competition. I fucked that competition up with this Rex 121. You know what I'm saying? God damn, we're at 6,000 right there. Oh, god damn, that's what I'm talking about. I mean, I gotta say, like, the worst part about being a custom knife maker is that you can't keep the knives to like fluff up your fucking ego. You know what I mean? Like, because I'd love to keep this knife, do a pass around with it, you know what I mean, and send it to everybody and have them all test it just to see how fucking badass you are. The problem with doing that is every time somebody sharpens this knife at 6 thou, it gets thicker. It gets thicker. And so if I send it to somebody and they test it, 7 thou. Send it to somebody else, 8 thou, 10 thou, 15 thou. So pretty soon I have a big bevel on there. It was a lot of work actually to hand sand, because I hand sanded this, and I don't really want to do that again. Somebody buys this knife from me. I mean, let's say in about 10 years or 5 years, when if they ever get to that point, I would do that for them because they bought the knife. They paid my bills to make this knife. Unfortunately, when it comes to sending out stuff for testing, that doesn't pay your bills. That doesn't buy you more belts. That doesn't keep the roof over your head. That doesn't keep the beer in your cup. So it's kind of an unusual position to be in, where you know you've made something that's really good and would test really good because you've tested it yourself and you've put on all the blood, sweat, and tears to make it do that. But then that's just what you did for testing. You know what I mean? But people are more likely to believe it if somebody else independently tests it. So it's I don't know. It's kind of like fuck. Like I wish I wish things were different. I don't know. But you have to sell it to somebody that's lucky enough to buy it, I guess, and be able to like have something that's the best that one crazy motherfucker can make, you know? Rex 121, you beautiful fucking bastard, hand sanded. I'll still open a beer with you, you crazy son of a bitch. And if there's any scratches on you, I'll sand you out later before I sell it. You know, it's pretty stressful being a custom knife maker because your world is revolving around little scratches that people say they don't care about, but they do care about those things, man, because it's your pride, it's your ego, it's everything you put invested yourself into. This is a manifestation of you. Your worth as a person is in this inanimate object. So it's kind of unusual. What can I say? But it is what it is. That's what people pay the fucking big bucks for, is to have something that they know that you've put your goddamn self into. So luckily, I mean, things have been going pretty good. I mean, I'm not enough of an asshole to piss off everybody, just enough of an asshole to piss off the people I don't give a fuck about. So things have been good. You can't make everybody happy. There's 7 billion going on 9 million people on this goddamn planet. If you're not pissing some people off, you're not being yourself. Let's just say that. And in fact, you sons of bitches, let's drink to that, goddamn it. Fuck. Yeah, I mean, I had the Nano Trapper design that I was making. And I don't know, man. You know, you want to make loaded questions. What's up, dude? What's going on, man? That's what I'm talking about. My boy's in here. He's been in every motherfucking live feed since ever. Listen, you want to make neck knives, but here's the thing about neck knives. You guys are thinking like, just make the neck knife. I'm thinking as a maker, it makes me look like a little bitch because it's like you're making this crazy ass steel, but you're only making it this big. When you're a custom maker, you're like, I ain't no bitch. I can make a big ass knife in that steel. I'm not trying to be a little bitch and make it into a little steel. Yeah. Going to cut nails with 15V. I mean, listen, Jim, I mean, I cut that nail with that 15V, but I tried to put the geometry up in the corner of the screen for people to understand, like, hey, this is thicker. It will do this at thicker geometry. That's kind of my biggest fear, is that people don't understand that number stuff at the side, and they think that when they buy something this really fucking thin, that it's going to do that. And it's like, bro, like, I did not intend that to be like that. Like, if it cuts a nail, it means, if any knife cuts a nail, it means it's a shitty knife, to be honest, because a knife is made to cut stuff with. It's not made to cut nails. I just wanted to show it to people that say that, fuck you, Sean, you're working with all these brittle materials and they're no good. You fucking, you're trying to peddle all this fucking hype shit on people. Like, listen, man, like, no, that's not what it's about at all. I'm just trying to show people that it can do that if the geometry is thick enough. And I'm saying the geometry is thick enough. The geometry on the knives I've been cutting the nail with are thinner than most production knives, man. You need to put that in perspective. But at the same time, I don't feel good about that as far as selling that to people. I want something that's like laser thin. Yeah, super laser thin. I shaved them to test the edges. Me and Jim, we had a phone call cover. I mean, I wouldn't shave my fucking face. I mean, I'll shave my arm hair. I mean, what little I fucking have. I mean, Jesus Christ, but I don't shave my face to test the edges just because, like, I could shave my beard with edges like this, but it's just like you can hear it's not comfortable. It's 1,000 grit edge with 1 micron. That's not very comfortable. That sound it's making, it's cutting the hair, but it's just like it's like pulling. It's not comfortable. I don't like it. I want a 12K edge for that, but then the problem is if I put that kind of edge on there, just make a shit knife just because it would smooth out everything you're paying for that knife. So fuck all that. I mean, it is. I will say that like when you're trying to work at the highest level possible for a custom knife maker when it comes to performance, it gets annoying having to explain the same shit that you feel like everybody who's at that level should understand. But at the same time, you can't get like disgruntled about that because to be honest, this stuff is not intuitive at all. It's in fact, it's a complete opposite of intuitive. High performance knives are not intuitive. It doesn't work like what you think. I found when I was talking to guys like Ankerson and stuff like that way back in the day, I was just blown away by the fact that what's making the steel actually cut longer is you have hard particles that are harder than the surrounding the surrounding matrix of the steel. You have these hard inclusions basically inside the steel that are making it cut longer, that are much harder than the surrounding matrix. And that's what's actually making knives cut longer. So that lets you know that when you're cutting something, you're slicing it, and you have carbide reinforced teeth that are actually doing the work. It's not about having the hardest matrix possible with the finest point necessarily, unless you're looking to cleave and displace matter. If you're actually looking to cut matter, cutting is not about cleaving and displacing, but it's about drawing the edge across stuff and it having some aggression and some resistance to being worn and blunted down. And it's about putting the least amount of effort into the most amount of work that you can do. And that's what you're paying for when you buy this. When I'm selling this knife at 70.5 HRC, and yeah, like Jim's saying, it's like rocks and concrete or like an aggregate or gravel inside of a concrete, which Phil Wilson is the guy who invented that analogy. That's what you're paying for, man. And then some people are like, "Oh, well, fuck all that. That's not what I want. I want the fucking uh, carbon steel with the least amount of aggregate inside of it at the highest amount of matrix hardness." You can do that, but it will still not be as wear resistant. It doesn't matter. As it turns out, like when it comes to slicing and cutting, the mechanism of slicing and cutting relies on carbides and high hardness carbides, but at the same time, really high hardness matrix to support and hold those carbides. And so I get frustrated sometimes, and sometimes I question what I do just because it's so hard. It is very hard to do this. This looks like a knife, looks like a knife, looks like a knife. There's nothing special. It looks like a metal object knife. The amount of effort that goes into this is not perceivable unless you're doing it. Unless you create stuff, you understand what goes into it. Unless you're really geeked out on this stuff, you understand what goes into that. Otherwise, like, it doesn't matter. Yeah, exactly. So sometimes I get a little down. Sometimes I'm like, why the fuck do I do what I do? I can make like 1,000 knives in ABL, or I can make one knife in fucking Rex 121. I don't know. I mean, I'm exaggerating, of course, but just sometimes you get a little disgruntled. Sometimes you're like, man, what the fuck? I work so goddamn hard to do what I do, and nobody appreciates this shit. And you have to explain so much to people about how shit works for them to appreciate it that sometimes you're just like, man, fuck all this. This is stupid. Like everybody just wants 3V, thick as fuck, chop nails, bust apart fucking pallets and shit like that. To me, that's not that special. But for a regular person, and I was that person at one point in time. I'm not so far removed that I can't remember when I was just like, fuck, yeah. But it can be hard sometimes, especially when you actually have to pay your bills to do this kind of shit. And when you have to make a decision between, you know, buying more belts or, paying your fucking electricity bill, it's pretty fucking, it can be very stressful. So you can't help but to get a little charged up. You can't help but to be a little defensive about it and be a little pissed off when if anybody's talking any kind of shit to you about it, you get a little defensive. You get a little like, fuck you, I worked so fucking hard to do this bullshit, blah, 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 I'll fucking kill you, blah, blah. You don't mean any of that, but you're under the gun. You're stressed out. Nobody understands any of this shit. And people think that you're trying to peddle some marketing shit on them. I try to be as honest as possible about all of this shit just because I feel like there's already so much snake oil bullshit in the knife community. You don't need any more of it. I'll tell people straight up if I think that you want Rex 121 for the name of it, but really, this is not the knife for you. This is not the knife for you. Yeah. So it is what it is. Like I realized long ago that it's better to be kind of a person that's either loved or hated, not somebody that's kind of people feel mediocre about. And so people either they love me or they hate me, and that's completely fine. My open will do that. That's fucking hilarious, And to be honest, Jim, that's kind of the whole dream of this shit. And I know you hate Cliff Stamp, but Cliff Stamp was really focused on geometry, which I agree with. I mean, but at the same time, I want the crazy fucking steel with that geometry, because I want it to here's what it comes down to, guys. And I'm being honest as fuck. If you cut something like this, if you draw the edge across something, you want carbides. If you want something to push through something like this, maybe you want a harder matrix with less carbides, okay? Because you can finish that edge out more. And, I got a chance. I got one of the best opportunities in life. If you're really passionate about knives and you get a chance to go down and hang out with Phil Wilson, that's something you'll never forget. Like, I think that was one of the best opportunities I've ever had in my life because I was an EMT for about 8 years. And what you realize for being an EMT for that long, emergency medical technician, you fucking retards don't understand what that means. You work on an ambulance and you basically save people that are fucking dying. I mean, I'm being dramatic about that, but that's what that is. And what you realize from doing that for 8 years is that time is pretty short. And Phil Wilson's getting pretty old, Phil Wilson is living knowledge of super steels. Phil Wilson was around when nobody knew what the fuck up and down was. Nobody knew what the hell a carbide was when Phil Wilson was getting into using a lot of these crazy ass steels. Phil Wilson had a background in mechanical engineering. He was one of the first guys to really be a huge proponent for custom knife makers like myself to use high carbide, high technology type steels, pattern steels, S60V, back when it was called 440V, back when it was called 420V for S90V. Guy's a fucking legend. He carried on the legacy of Wayne Goddard and Maynard Meadows and their road cut testing for testing these different steels to really help rule out the differences between how long shit was cutting. Back in the 1990s, early 2000s, the knife community was filled with so much bullshit. It was filled with all this bullshit samurai shit. It was filled with all this like a knife should be so sharp that the Damascus Persian blade can cut a silk scarf. Those of us that know and make knives and realize how all this stuff works realizes that all those old stories were bullshit. They are. Unfortunately, people hold on to stories. There's two kinds of people in this fucking world. There's people that want to believe in stuff, and there's people that want the reality of how things fucking work. Most people are in the world of they want to believe stories. The other half of people want to see fucking proof. And if it wasn't for guys like Phil Wilson, you wouldn't see dickheads like me making knives out of Rex 121. And so guys like Agerson, other guys that help continue that legacy of actually getting us shit that actually fucking cuts a long time. If it wasn't for people carrying that torch, you poor miserable motherfuckers would be left with people talking about how Damascus cuts a silk scarf as it falls down, about Japanese blades cutting a hair as it touches the fucking, you know what I mean? Give me a goddamn break. Seriously. Um, the mechanism of what actually makes something cut a long time is not what you think. You pack it with lots of these hard particles, these inclusions, as they call them, which are harder than the surrounding matrix. With a matrix that's hard enough to support them, you cut them with the ability to sharpen. Technique is king. Then you have the proper abrasive to cut them, all that stuff. And that's what makes the knife perform. That's all there is to it. Unfortunately, it's like I'm speaking gibberish. It's like nobody understands what I'm fucking talking about. Like I'm speaking bullshit. Listen, man, I just do what works. I rest on the shoulders of giants, people that have gone before me and have done all this stuff. I didn't come out of nowhere with all this stuff. I was you. I was that thing, and I'm here now, and I'm going to continue this. I'm the next generation of this fucking shit. I'm 32 years old, you know. There will come a time when I'm fucking 62 years old, God willing, unless something strikes me down. And I will pass on the knowledge I have to the next generation, who will decide that they want to take it that much further with that. Whatever material science decides will push on, however this mechanism based on the laws of physics makes the knife cut the longest. Whatever the fuck that may be in the future, who knows? But I'm a product of my time. I'm a product of what I've learned from the people before me, and it's fucking sad that I have to like explain shit that's out there for people to read and learn, that has never been more available than it is now. But I realize the knife community is growing. I think it's difficult for somebody in my position to not get their head up their ass just because you work so hard at what you do to make something like this that you know nobody else is doing. But at the same time, you can't be a cocky fuck. You have to answer questions like if it was you that would ask that question that knows nothing. And sometimes your patience wears thin. Sometimes I'm not the perfect person. Sometimes I get a little snappy with somebody, and I apologize. You get asked the same question in my position over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, and you get a little fucking tired of it, and it makes you feel like you've already heard that and everybody should know that shit. This stuff is, like I said in the beginning of this video or middle of this video, all of this shit with knife performance is not intuitive. It's actually counterintuitive. That's exactly what it is. And there's already a bunch of bullshit out there. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I used to ask you all the time about this shit. I mean, it's rough. It's rough to make a living at this shit regardless, even if I wasn't on this side of it. Being a custom knife maker is like basically telling yourself you want to kick yourself in the balls every day, because it's not easy to live creatively and to push your vision to what you feel like is the best thing ever. And there's other people doing the same thing as you. There's other custom knife makers. I met plenty of custom knife makers at the show. For me to like preach my vision, does that mean that they're wrong about what they preach? Like, no. Like, let's be real. Like, there's many of different people that appreciate different aspects and things in the knives, but I found my niche. I found what I am passionate about, and that's this kind of stuff. And it doesn't mean it's any better. It doesn't mean it's any worse. It comes down to preference and what somebody's looking for. I just found what makes me happy is making stuff like this. Rex 121, 70.5 HRC, 6 stab behind the edge, 15 degrees per side, fucking double disc taper. Being able to spend my time with each knife because I can charge enough for it. It doesn't make me happy to have to try to bang out 20 knives a week and have to fucking drop the fit and finish. That makes me happy. That makes me happy trying to find where. I'll be real with you. I found that with the knife performance stuff, I don't think I can ever find the limit to it, as long as I live. You know, I was an EMT for 8 years. When I originally was doing EMT stuff, I thought I would do that for the rest of my life because it's a very noble job. You know, you're saving people's lives. And I thought to myself, like, and listen, I eat red meat. I'm a fucking red-blooded goddamn American. I love the adrenaline rush. I love the excitement. I thought to myself, like, that's pretty fucking badass. You'll have something exciting to do, something stressful, something you can do all the time that will challenge you. And I like that kind of shit. Uh, but I got bored with that. And I felt like with knives, it was something I could never get bored of just because it was, you can never, the theoretical limit of where you can find heat treatment, steel, geometry, and sharpening ability with different stones and all these different combinations was impossible to figure out. And I like the idea of like my lifelong goal was if I can make a living at this, I can possibly achieve the closest limit I can to the actual theoretical limit of what is possible. And so that's what I liked the most was being able to get as close as I can before I die with my little finite life to what is theoretically possible. I think that life has no meaning to it except for the meaning that we apply to it. And that's kind of a really it's kind of an apathetic way to think about life, but I will say that how about you fucking work as an EMT for 8 years and you see people die and shit, and you think about what the meaning of life is and stuff like that when you see people die in front of you. Like you start to realize real quickly that life is what you make it. It's life is what you make it. The only purpose in life is whatever you decide it is. And so if you want to be a janitor the rest of your life, that's fine. Be the best fucking janitor you can. Be whatever you do in life, be the best of what it is. And and for me, if I can somehow figure out some way to take something that doesn't make a lot of money and it's not a very lucrative or a very sustainable way to make a living, and if I can somehow have the opportunity, the blessing of being able to do this for the rest of my life, that would make me very happy. I'd be very happy. I don't need to make a ton of money at it. When you charge $1,200 for a Rex 121 knife, people think you're making a ton of money and you're price gouging, you're being a fucking dickhead. That just is what it costs to make. You don't really make that much money off of that when it comes to your time and things like that. I think people they don't understand what goes into that, and you want to try to explain that, but at the same time, you don't want to sound like a little fucking cunt. It just is what it is. People, they feel like when you make a knife, you're making like a utensil, like as almost as like I'm a fucking spoon maker or something. Here in America, we place a huge emphasis on durability. And what I liked about what the Russians were doing was that they had kind of a little niche, or at least what I could perceive as like there seemed like to be like a bigger audience for people that wanted the highest cutting performance. And that's what I wanted to focus on. I had somebody earlier in the comments ask me like, man, you're going to make knives in 3V? And 3V is basically the antithesis of what I do. If you come to me, my profession, my expertise, my passion, which you come to me for, you come to me for people that can't do the goddamn job. You guys remember back in the day, they had a TV show called The A-Team, and it was like, if you have a job, if you have people that can't do the job you need, call the A-Team. These are the people you need to get the job done. That's fucking me. Okay? You call me. Production companies say no. Other custom makers say no. You call up Big Brown Bear. And I'm like, fuck yeah, let's do this shit. I will give you your Rex 121 at this. I will charge you what it costs, but I will give that to you because that is not what something normal people will do or get. Yeah, Sharp Maker will do it. Yeah. Fuck off, Jim. I love you, dog. Curious, what's the anticipated application of your blade design? EDC, processing gamer deer. I like the design on the sheath. Not sure if I've ever wanted to resharpen Rex 121 in the field, though. Listen, man, that's kind of a big thing. That's kind of a big bullshit thing as far as like it's impossible to resharpen in the field. Let me see. Daniel, hear me out, man. You have no idea how much I had to bust my ass to make it so that bevel was only like 6 thou. Like we're about the width of a hair on this bevel. If you want to touch this up on the field, it's probably the easiest fucking knife you've ever sharpened in your life. You can take a knife in AEBL, which should be easy to grind and make a knife out of, and put it at 30 thou behind the edge, 15 degrees per side, with a bevel about that wide. And you could take my Rex 121 at 70.5 HRC, 32% carbide volume, and I'm about 6 thou behind the edge. My edge at 15 degree per side, can you see it? A lot of people at the knife show were like, is that a 0 ground knife? That just goes to show that when I show videos of how thin something at 6 thou behind the edge with a 15 degree per side bevel on there, it's imperceivable to you, the audience that are watching this video. And so when you say to me that it's going to be difficult to sharpen in the field, give me a fucking break. Because what's the most important thing? What is making that knife so difficult to sharpen? It's the fucking geometry. It's not the fact that it's hard as fuck steel. If you have the right technique to hit the proper goddamn angle, and if you have the right tools to actually sharpen it with, this is probably the best sharpening fucking knife, even though it's the hardest goddamn steel, longest cutting steel in the fucking world. I have no way of expressing that to people through a goddamn video screen, you know? So for me, it pisses me off because it's just like, I've spent about 1,000% cost to make this knife this thin. And I make this knife technically a little less durable, a lot less durable for people that want to do stupid shit like, oh, I want to open this fucking metal can, you know what I mean? Like, what the fuck? Like, people that break down deer and stuff. This knife is made for people that want to break down animal hide, break down deer and stuff like that. But it's for people that don't want to like stick the edge in something and twist it out. You don't want to do that. You can hear that sound. It's strong enough to hold up to that. I'm not putting a lot of force on it. Don't do that shit, you fucking goddamn. And when I see that shit, it's like people are like, oh, it's a knife. It should be able to hold up. Stop doing that shit. Use it to cut stuff. That's what I did all this stuff for. Fucking cut stuff with it. Stop doing stupid shit with the knife. You want to do stupid shit with a knife? Get a thick ass knife that cuts like shit. Seriously. I'm sorry for getting a little charged up, but it's just fucking pissed me off. I hear the same shit over and over again, and it's all bullshit. Seriously. It's all fucking bullshit, and somebody needs to call it out. Somebody needs to stop getting the high performance knives watered down for the people that fucking suck. Seriously, I'm sorry, man. It is what it is. You know, like, has the edge microchip from doing that? Did it microchip? This goddamn steel is so fucking strong. It did not microchip it. You know. Listen, Daniel. I'm not trying to offend you, man. You have to realize in my position, I hear the same thing over and over again, man. I get so fucking tired of it. I'm so exhausted. You know what I mean? The reason why I go to blade shows is not to sell knives and make a ton of money. It's to show people that Rex 121 at 70 can flex. I can flex the edge. I can flex the edge on that. This is still made out of steel. This is not carbide. This is not ceramic. This is not glass. Fucking steel. You know? I have to tell that to people. I'm alone in this goddamn world. That's what it's like to be at the fucking cutting edge of shit, man. Seriously. I'm not a snake oil salesman. I'm not a bullshitter. I'm for real, man. And I'll just tell you how it is. And this is what I've seen. This is what I've done for the past fucking 5 years. And now that I do it for a living, it does get, you know, I get a little tired of it, you know. And it's not people that don't know it. I mean, my friends and family, like, listen, they're probably the worst because they don't know anything about anything and they don't care enough to know. And I got to tell them, yeah, hey, I'm a custom knife maker. I do this for a living. And they're like, hey, cool, man. I want to buy one of your knives. And I'm like, well, I kind of stick to a special world of it, you know? Daniel, it's not that it has ductility. It's that it has resilience. That's a different term. And so what it is I can take this, you can see this edge, Daniel, and I could flex it, man. I'm glad Jim is here. Jim, you were back and loving this shit back before anybody knew fucking up from down, man. Like, if you were to say this shit back in 2010, people would be like, you're full of shit. Fuck off. Like, 9 years later, I'm dealing with that, but still, people are better. People understand a little bit more than they did 9 years ago. So it's fucked. So hopefully, Jim, by the time I'm your age, like, people will maybe like be that much better off, and there'll be a small audience of people that are like more passionate about this side of high performance, man. You know what I mean? It's like people that are like,
well, Lamborghini goes fast, but it can't go off road. It's like, no shit. No shit, the Lamborghini can't go off road. But people, Vinny Nero, if you guys don't know who Vinny Nero was, but he made like the most epic analogy of all time. And what Vinny Nero said was basically, he's got a YouTube channel, you can go follow him, is that people, when they look at hammers, they can see that a little tiny jeweler's hammer is different from a big ass fucking sledgehammer. The problem with knives is when I hold the knife from a side view, you can't tell what it's made for. You can't tell what it's made for until you measure how thin it is behind the edge, until you can measure what the stock is, until you can measure what the edge is. You have no idea if it's a sledgehammer or just a little tiny jeweler's hammer. Okay, you have no idea, because you know what? From the side profile, a knife looks like a knife, looks like a knife, looks like a knife. They all look the fucking same. But at the same time, there's guys that are very passionate about this stuff that try to point out to people that are just getting into it that, hey man, what are you, fucking retard? Rex 121, it's 70.5 HRC, it's 6 thou behind the edge with a distal taper out to 10 thou at the tip, 150 stock with a distal taper on each side. Why are you trying to paint? Why are you trying to pry open paint cans with that shit? And then try to blame the maker that he did a shitty job heat treating it when he made that knife cut so fucking good. Nothing will cut as good as that knife. Nothing will physically cut as good as that knife if you're not a fucking retard and doing it. And it's essentially like basically taking a Lamborghini Multidor, whatever the fuck model you want to use, and you're going to take that Lamborghini with low ground clearance, all that horsepower, all that engine, all that beautiful paint job, and you're going to try to enter a mudding contest, an off-road mudding contest for be like, okay, is this car so good? I'm going to take it off-road and see how much mud and gravel this shit can fucking handle. And when you take that Lamborghini that you spent all that money for, and you go out there and you go mudding with it and it fucking sucks, and then you say, hey everybody, Lamborghini sucks big donkey balls because it's not able to handle fucking off-road. How much of a fucking retard do you look like? Because people realize that that car that you are driving off-road, what are you, fucking retard? Do you see how low the ground clearance is? Do you see the horsepower that thing has? Do you see how it was designed to drive really fucking fast? But at the same time, here's why knives are so fucked up. Knives are so fucked up because a knife looks like a knife, looks like a knife. What I've tried to do on this channel, for you guys that don't understand, is I try to point out, hey, I'm chopping a fucking nail. I'm chopping a nail because I got some 32-inch swamp boggers with a fucking 30-inch lift on this Lamborghini. And that's why it's able to fucking roll over these fucking hills and do all this shit. But when I sell you the knife and I take the 32-inch swamp boggers off and I drop the lift so it's got low ground clearance so it'll race around the fucking racetrack, which is what you want the fast car to goddamn do, goddamn, what the fuck? You know what I mean? So it's very stressful sometimes to make knives at this level. You try to give people this bullshit and you got to deal with the fucking people that don't know up from down. And they're just like, hey, what the fuck, man? I wanted the Gravedigger monster truck, and you're selling me this Rex 121. It's like, you fucking asshole. Do you have any idea how hard it is to make something like a Lamborghini, and you're coming to me wanting the Gravedigger monster truck? That's a completely different fucking world. Listen, I got no problem telling customers to go fuck themselves because there is plenty of other knife makers out there. You don't have to subscribe to this channel. You don't have to buy any of my knives. You don't have to do any of that fucking shit. There's plenty of other knife makers that are making durable shit, and it's not because magic heat. It's not because of magic heat treatment. It's not because of magic fucking steel. It's because of magic fucking geometry. And guess what? When you grind something thicker, it's less fucking money. Okay? So seriously, that goes into another subject that I'm a little sore about. That's S45VN. S45VN, is it garbage steel? Is it no good? S45VN, is it a bunch of bullshit? Guess what? For somebody like me, I see the potential at S45VN. S45VN, if you're buying a production knife, you're kind of fucked. I'm sorry, but they have to cater to the people that want the Gravedigger monster truck. So they have to drop the Rockwell hardness. They have to compensate for people that want to sharpen knives on cinder blocks and all that bullshit, because when your life depends on it, you need to be able to sharpen your knife with a goddamn river rock. Like, give me a goddamn break. Seriously. If you're going to go into a situation where you know you're going to be fucking trying to survive, maybe you're gonna pack all this shit to try to fucking prepare, and you're not gonna pack a proper fucking sharpening stone? What are you, a fucking retard? Goddamn. Hey, what about those diamond belts? They working out? Listen, dude, those diamond belts are diamond films. They're not for grinding metal. I still have to pay far up the fucking ass to get some goddamn knives ground. They don't have the stiff enough backing. They don't have the proper bonding to grind knives thin. What they do is they help finish out scratches from 60 grit up to 120 grit and 220 grit for me to do hand sanding. Yeah. What if my life depends on it and a really thin, sharp knife cuts better than anything else? Well, I guess you just stick it right up your ass. I don't know what to say, dude. Like, I'm so tired of that conversation. It's not even fucking funny. Seriously. Here's how you survive in a survival situation. You see that right there? It's your fucking brain. Don't be a goddamn retard. Nobody has ever survived because they had a durable knife. In fact, you're gonna find the guy whose brain isn't working properly to make proper decisions to make himself survive, and he's got the world's most durable knife. You're gonna find a dead guy, a skeleton with a fucking knife on him. Okay. Jim points it out exactly. It's like different knives for different things, man. What do you want? Because if you want the highest performance of something, it's like this. If you want something that's mediocre at everything but can do everything, that's what it is, man. Now, some of you motherfuckers are like, is that unique to knives? Is that I have to make compromises? Everything in the world around you is like that. From the cars you see on the road to a fucking frying pan you see. Everything is like that. So why the fuck is it that you guys are putting this like huge demand on a knife to do everything, when realistically, like, it's such bullshit? Like, you want the best performance knife, find what makes you happy, make the compromises, find your preferences, and gear yourself towards that. People that want me to make a survival knife, there's your survival knife right there. Go somewhere else. My specialty, why you come to me, is this. Where are you going to buy that? You're not going to buy that anywhere. You can buy a survival knife anywhere. Yeah, it's fine. You know, the province is fucking sick, dude. That's Ankerson and Darren Sanders' knife. And listen, I think that people think that because I make a laser knife, oh, you just don't appreciate a hard use knife. You're just a little pussy. You don't know how to make a hard use knife. I break so many knives on this channel. I can hard use knives all day, but I understand what's making it hard to use. There's nothing wrong with a hard use knife, though, too. It's enjoyable. It's pretty fucking fun to take a knife that's designed for that and break shit up. It's fucking cool, man. It's fine, man. It's fine. Find what works for you, okay? Because I'm going to keep doing what I like to do, which is like, I like this side of stuff with a high carbide, high hardness, thin geometry, because I feel like for me, it challenges what I'm able to do with my hands and my mind. And I feel like there's nothing like it. I fucking love that shit. It's like, oh, fuck. It stresses me out. It like makes me so fucking scared. Like, I'm just like, oh, fuck. Like, am I able to pull this off? You know, and then there's nobody else doing it. I feel like because they lack the, you know, the skills and the knowledge. So listen, man, most things in life, you're doing it to kind of pump your own ego up. Let's be real. And for me, it's just like, oh, fuck yeah. Like, I'm fucking manly. Like, I could fucking pull this shit off, you know? So I like that, man. But there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with you guys if you like to have something more durable. It's just that I'm not making that right now just because I'm not passionate about that. Like, in the future, when I get bored of maybe making lasers, maybe I will move into making like indestructible knives. There's something exciting about that too, as far as like, yeah, fucker, I'll make you a fucking knife that you can't break, you piece of shit. You know, like I'll select the right steel geometry and heat treat. The cutting geometry will suffer, but my durability suffers when I make something at the other end. So what do? There's no way to make the best knife possible. It depends on the person's preference and what they're trying to do with it. So I don't fucking know, guys. Like at the end of the day, I am at the mercy of what makes me money. So if I keep making Rex 121 and nobody buys it, nobody wants to buy a knife for $1,200 or whatnot. Like, fuck you. I don't want that shit. Sharpening's gay. Performance is gay. I want fucking huge durability. I mean, to be honest with you guys, even though I'm passionate about this stuff right here, if everybody says that stuff sucks and they don't want to buy it from me and I can't make money at it, you just made my day. You made my day because you made me be able to do the easiest shit possible, which is knives that don't break. It's pretty fucking easy because I just make them thick. I make them softer. I use less abrasives to grind them. I tell you guys to use thicker geometries. They can still be sharp. They can still cut stuff, but they're not going to cut stuff as good. But it makes my life really easy, and then we can fucking sell that shit all day. Because here in America, in Western culture where I come from, people love durability. That's the biggest fucking thing. If you have a knife that doesn't break, blah blah blah, that's easy. That's fucking easy. This is hard. This is a challenge of it. This is a passion. If you don't want to buy it, fucking you just made my life really easy. I'll make you the most durable shit ever. God damn. God damn, I'll make that shit for you. Oh, you think it's some legendary heat treat? You think it's this? It's just got to be good enough heat treat. It's just got to be low alloy steel that's easy to sharpen, thick geometry. I'll make that for you, you fucking idiots. God damn. I don't mean to insult anybody here, but god damn, let's be fucking real here. Okay? Because some people don't understand this side of stuff, and you know what, that's why I focus on that side of stuff, because it makes me feel alive. It makes me feel like I'm challenging what I know, what I do with my hands. When I make a knife like this Rex 121, I fucking feel alive. Like my whole body is just like, oh fuck, I did it, I fucking did it, you know. Like it feels good, it feels real good when I make something that doesn't break or something like that. When you're chopping a nail, like to me, I'm just like, I compromised. I feel like deep inside I compromised. I'm using snake oil. I'm using bullshit to make this work. You know what I mean? But some makers are so ignorant to what's actually making shit work that they're just like, hey guys, I got the best heat treat. Here's what makes me want to switch sides. So I get some retards, some customer or some people that just talk shit about me enough where they're just like, fuck you, man. Why don't you make something like a Bussy or a Winkler or something like that actually last for some hard fucking use? Why don't you make a quality knife? And I feel like the biggest proponent of that is your friends and family, because they don't sharpen, they don't really understand how knives work. They really like this at the atomic level. And yeah, I mean, I think Jim Iggerson's in the comments here, and I think he was a really good proponent for me to understand that, like, unless you're testing something with controlled testing, there's really no idea. You have no idea what the fuck the steel is. If you're not testing it, you have no idea. Come here, let me tell you something. Seriously, come here. Let me tell you something. Come here. Come closer. Come here. If I don't test the knife, I have no idea what the fuck it's able to do. I know all this shit about how this stuff works, but if I don't road cut test, if I don't do any type of controlled testing, I have no idea that Rex 121 is going to cut as long. I know it's going to cost me a lot of money to make, but I don't know if it's actually physically going to cut longer than something else. That's why you have to test your knives. Come here. Let me tell you something else. You guys look like you want to know some more stuff. I'll tell you what you don't know. Knife makers don't test their knives. We rely on our customers to tell us if it's good or not. Let that sink in. a customer, if the knife doesn't break, it's good. So then you guys bitch that you're not getting high hardness steels and you're not getting high carbide and long cutting and stuff like that. First off, who the fuck do you think is paying for that shit? You guys want knives at about $150, $50, $50, $100 for a knife. $100 for a knife is a lot of money. I tested this knife. This cut longer than anything I've used so far. You can call me bullshit for saying, "Oh, fuck you, you're just trying to snake up." I have a best tester. I tested this with an edge per edge on 3/4 inch metal rope, just like fucking Phil Wilson taught me. This cut longer than anything else I've ever used. This is a $1,200 knife. That's a lot of fucking money. How much time do you think it took me, and how much materials do you think it took me to make this fucking piece of shit? How much fucking effort do you think it took to make that? How much second guessing of yourself do you think it would take you to make something like this? You'd be proud to say $1,200 fucking dollars come after me. Okay, that's serious, dude. That's some serious shit. Think about that. I'm stand behind this product. I stand behind it. If you don't use it like a dickhead, it will hold up perfectly. I'm willing to put myself out there for people that would decide to use that like a retard and be like, okay, well, there you go. So you want $50 knives? You want $150 knives? You want $300 knives? And then when you look at a $1,200 knife that's actually fucking vetted, that's actually everything has been like one person has went through each thing to make sure that knife will do what he says it will do. What the fuck? Isn't that worth its weight? Isn't that worth what is asking of it? You know, think about that. I think that's interesting because what a warranty is from a company is they don't have the time to test each knife they make because they're making a volume of knives. If I make 10,000 knives in X121, there's no fucking way I can guarantee each knife at a volume of 10,000 knives in 1 month could do what I say it does. And so I have to have a warranty system in place to make up for that fact. Not to mention my cost for making that many of those knives would be insane. So when I hear some of you fucking assholes bitch about how production companies aren't giving you Rex 121 with custom heat treat and all this shit, blah, 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 go do it yourself and see how difficult that is. It's pretty fucking difficult. It seriously is. I don't mean to complain about what I do, but I do get a little upset when I hear some people that don't have any fucking clue about what goes into making the highest performance custom made knife you can possibly make. Let's be real. I can only make what I can physically with my human limitations make. I like I said in the beginning of this video, theoretical limit is here. With your entire lifetime, they say humans can live up to 70 years at an average for 7 billion people across the world. If you spend 70 years of your life making knives at the highest level you can, the theoretical limit is here. You will always be here. There's no way to blow past the theoretical limit of what is possible for knives. So that is why I quit my fucking job. I stopped what I was doing, EMT, making money to pay the bills and stuff and save lives, something very noble. To stop what I'm doing to chase this dream so that hopefully if I live long enough to be 60 or 70, I could be here. Theoretical limit for knives is here, where you can only hope to achieve in your lifetime of 70 years, a very short lifetime in the scale of the planet, in the scale of things, is here. You can only ever achieve here. When you realize that, when you're an EMT and you see how short life is, how anything can take you away, tomorrow is never promised. All you motherfuckers watching this video, you could die, and you never fucking understand anything about the reality of the universe you were living in before you go on to something else. Jim, take care, man. Thanks for coming in here. Yeah. Thanks for joining, dude. Appreciate you. You know, Jim, sometimes I disagree. That doesn't mean I don't respect you. It doesn't mean I don't appreciate everything you've done for the knife community. So thanks for joining us here. I appreciate it, man. Yeah, it's good shit. Thanks for supporting me too, Jim. Custom knife makers are pretty. Jim, let me tell you something. Come here, Jim. Let me tell you something. Custom knife makers are pretty fucking sensitive. We're pretty sensitive people because we spend so much time alone, sanding and just doing something that's really boring, and just hoping at the end that it turns out to something that we're really proud of, that we could sell, and we take a lot of pride in what we do. So thanks, Jim, for joining in, and take care, man. I'll talk to you later. Is the beer capped? What the fuck you talking about, Zach? The beer's not fucking capped, dude. We'll get some more fucking beer, dude. Ah, Prost! Mm, yeah, some good shit. Mm, I lost my train of thought. Well, you got any questions? It's time to be real. I got a little fire in me. I got a little of the crazy water in me. Mm. Listen, man, that's a great question. Somebody asked me, Sean, do you make a distinction between a fine shaving edge and a working edge like some people do? Is there really a steel heat treat that's better for fine edge versus working edge? That's a fascinating topic. I would say that right now in 2019, there's not really a lot of conclusive information for that for you. Now, I see a lot of testers on YouTube, great testers, excellent at what they do. They know they make a distinction between, okay, they'll hold the fine edge this long, the working edge this long. The problem is what they're testing for the fine edge, human hairs are actually different sizes. So somebody of my ethnicity will have a thicker hair. Somebody of a more pale complexion with a more kind of reddish hair, gingerly type person. I don't want to piss anybody off, but they'll have a much thinner hair. And so if that person's testing, the person with the thinner hair, for them, the fine edge shaving may be lower. Person like me with a thicker hair, maybe the fine edge shaving would go longer because my hair is thicker. When your apex is doling, the radius, as it gets thicker and thicker and thicker from wearing down, uh, it could still shave a larger radiused hair. Hairs can range from, let's see if I can remember. I pulled this up. I believe somebody with a thinner type hair can be anywhere from like about 15 to 16 micron. You guys can look that up and bust my balls if I didn't quote that properly. And then you can have hairs up to 100 micron range, you know. So you can have a huge variation between hairs. Now, an apex that's sharp enough to shave hair, theoretically, can be anywhere from 1 micron, which is pretty small. A red blood cell, like we said earlier in this video, is about 8 micron, to about a Gillette double-edged razor, which is designed for shaving your face. In the Gillette razor double-edged safety razor patent, they said it was anywhere from 400 to 300 nanometers. So there's about 1,000 nanometers for 1 micron. Okay, and you can have a hair range of between, let's say, 120 or something to about fucking, what did I say, 17 micron. And so when you're trying to distinguish the differences between fine edge holding and working edge holding, what are we talking about? We're talking about somebody's hair, and we're talking about a huge range of different sizes. And so we're trying to make huge conclusions that this steel will hold a fine edge this long, when realistically, what size hair are we talking about? How is it sharpened? What's the carbide volume? What carbides do we have to cut and shape through to make that apex radius, you know? So I find it's very difficult to make that kind of conclusion. I just don't have enough data right now to share that with you. Here's what I want to say about that question you asked me. It's an excellent question. Don't think it's not a good question. It's a fucking excellent question. Some people think that if you don't have an answer for the question, it's a bad question. I think the best questions are the questions that don't have answers, because isn't necessarily an answer, because there's so many variables at play that you just have to keep playing with it to figure out what is the answer to that question. And so the Rex 121, when you buy this, it's a $1,200 knife. Oh, I should hold a hair shaving edge, because hair shaving edge is the ultimate. Like, listen, man, there's kind of trade-offs to things. If I wanted to make the ultimate hair shaving edge, I wouldn't use high carbide steel. I would use something that has lower carbide volume, softer carbides. That way I wouldn't have to cut through them to shape them, but I would use a harder matrix, excuse me, a harder matrix to support the microstructure. That way, when I'm in the micron to submicron nanometer range, it's the matrix that's supporting that apex, not carbides. The problem with that is that it's a huge fucking trade-off to what actually makes a knife cut. What makes a knife cut is basically drawing the edge across stuff and having carbides to reinforce the apex to keep it from resisting wear. What the carbides in Rex 121 do is they make it more aggressive. And I always keep saying that aggressiveness. That's not like a material science term. That's an opinionated term. It's kind of bullshit. It's just as much bullshit as basically me talking about fine edge holding versus working edge holding. I don't make any kind of claims that like that's something scientific or anything. Let's be real. But it's a real world term, in that if you were to take a guy and you were to sharpen Rex 121 and something really low carbide volume like fucking 420 HC or 5160 to the same level of sharpness, they could feel the edge with their fingers, and they would feel if they lightly draw their fingers across, they'd be like, oh fuck, that's more aggressive. And some people would feel like that's more sharp, because if they touch it, it feels like it wants to cut them as they draw their fingers across that edge. So I think that's a great question, because I started out doing all this stuff as a freehand knife sharpener. Yeah, so what I was passionate about is like, I don't care about anything but whatever makes a knife the sharpest as possible. Unfortunately, I kept getting better at sharpening. And when I kept getting better at sharpening, I started to realize that if you just have the proper abrasive to shape that apex, some of that stuff was kind of irrelevant. And that what it came down to was that if you had more carbides at the edge, it would cut with a lot more ferocity and aggression if you were drawing the edge across, because what you had left was these carbide reinforced teeth that were poking out and allowed it to separate matter by kind of micro serration at a really microscopic scale, sawing through matter. Versus if you had a really polished edge with a hard matrix, and it was kind of basically just had the ability to push through matter and displace. And realistically, what was really interesting about all this stuff was that in real world testing, you were never just solving always, and you were never just perfectly push cutting, but you were kind of doing a blend of both. And that's what kind of ties back into my CBN stone, why I decided to do a 10 to 14 micron stone. I wanted something in between 20 micron and about 7 micron per se, because I felt like that gave you the ability to be the best blend between both worlds, where you had the ability to like have a push and a saw through stuff. So you can push cut through paper, but you could still have enough teeth with the carbides exposed and have these carbide reinforced teeth to just lightly touch stuff and have it cut. Because there's not a really clear consensus on sharpness. Technically, sharpness is like how fine of a radius you can get that apex. But at the same time, some people believe that sharpness is whatever the edge is, they can do the most amount of work with the least amount of effort. And some people measure that with weight. And so it's interesting that it's really difficult for me as a custom knife maker to make the perfect edge for all people and uses, because some people prefer a toothy edge, some people prefer a polished edge. And they're not right or wrong. It's just their preference. And me, I'm kind of like in my head, I'm like fucking stressed out because my reputation, I'm stressed that if I can meet that expectation for them, because these people, these regular people that aren't as geeked out, they make that distinction between that, but they don't know why it's working or how it's working. They just like understand like, well, this is sharper. They don't understand that maybe they're a more polished bias or that they're more toothy bias. I understand that mechanism and the difference between the two things. So it stresses me out. I'll ask them interview questions. They'll be like, "Oh, how do you like to cut with your knife? What are you cutting with it?" And they don't understand why I'm asking these different questions. When I ask those questions, it tells me exactly what they like. If they like a toothy edge, if they like a polished edge. But realistically, a high carbide steel is more biased towards a toothy edge. A lower carbide steel that gets a high matrix hardness will be more biased towards a polished edge. And that's how that basically works. So I hope that answered your question. It was kind of long-winded. Maybe there's another question for me. I'll pop another fucking beer here. This time I'll pop the beer with the Vancron Super Clean, which is pretty fucking kick-ass. I'm the only American custom knife maker in the country that's making knives out of Vancron Super Clean, thanks to my good friend Roman Casse over in Switzerland. God bless you, you fucking beautiful Swiss bastard. Goddamn, giving me the steel of my dreams, the Vancron Super Clean. Oh, it's so thin, it's so brittle at 67. Oh, fuck off. Oh, you can open a beer with it. Just goes to show, man. Knowing how to use your shit is really important, you know? You get some dumbass that doesn't know how to use this knife and he breaks it or somehow uses it really egregiously and he blames you as the maker who focused so hardly on making him the highest performance knife possible. And it's like makes you want to give up a little bit and just make thick knives, you know? This is the last fucking beer. We're gonna drink this son of a bitch. And when we're done with this guy, like the tradition. It's a close call. Like the tradition, I was gonna say. Live feeds are over. We run out of beer. If you want the live feeds longer, buy my fucking knife so I can buy more beer. It's pretty simple. Any more questions? Get some more questions, man. I feel like I'm on a psychic hotline or something. This is so bullshit. Just fucking feel free to ask me a question. It can be anything. If it's something that is too private or pisses me off, don't worry. I'll tell you to fuck off. Go ahead, ask me. Yeah, we'll see what I have to say. Unless all the people that actually comment are fucking gone and we just got all the quiet fucks. Careless, I know you're gonna watch this later. You are a quiet fucker. You don't say shit, you little fucking shadow warrior. That's the term for people that don't say shit. These are very knowledgeable people that basically hide in the shadows. They let people like me say shit and make myself look stupid, but they're very knowledgeable people, but they never speak up. They never say anything. They hide in the shadows. We call those shadow warriors, man. Talking to Michael Christie about that. I was like, dude, you fucking shadow warrior, dude. There's some very knowledgeable people out there. They're just not very public about what they know. A lot of good dudes, man. A lot of very knowledgeable dudes. So guys like Vadim, guys like Todd Simpson. There's a bunch of them, man. Super fucking knowledgeable. Very, very quiet people. You know, you would never know it. So go ahead, ask a question, speak up. I'm not shy. Woo! God damn. Fair enough. Yeah, but just a 6-pack of the space dust will put me away every time, you know? Mm. Woo! I think I don't know. I'm pretty excited about some of the woods I've been getting into. I've been mostly a micarta guy, but I got this shit. What do you guys think about that? This is box elder wood. It's been stabilized and it has a dye to it. It's like an OD green dye on the outside, or maybe forest green, and it has a toasted center. But when I saw this in pictures online, these are expensive, man. These are like $30. Some of you fuckers won't even spend $30 on a knife, but these scales are $30, so you can go fucking kill yourself. But god damn, those look cool. You know, one reason why I avoided wood for so long was because I didn't feel like it was as durable as micarta. It's a natural product, so you got to worry about some more things with it. It's more work to hand sand. Uh, I like it. I like this. So that looks fucking cool, man. I'm pretty excited about it. It's a box elder, stabilized. Stabilized. What that means is they basically they fill up the wood cell structure with a resin. Wood has kind of a cell structure. It's mostly air or whatnot. So, oh shit! The wood will cost more if it's been stabilized, but stuff like a softer wood or etc., you want it stabilized so it actually buffs and finishes the way you want. Pretty excited about that. It's good looking wood. Here in America, most of the woods we have available to us is going to be a maple, a hard maple. That's what we have here. This is a toasted maple. I mean, goddamn, I like this one because it looks like it's made out of smoke. You know, it's called a toasted maple. This is what it looks like when it's not finished. But then if you were to buff and finish and all that shit, oh fuck, this is matchbook scales. God damn, that looks good. You know, I'm really stoked about that. I'm not sure what knife I'll do with that one. What you have to kind of do as a custom knife maker is you have to like buy some materials, and then when the time comes, you're just like, there is no other knife I would put this on but this knife, and you put that on there. This one I'm really excited about. I got this from Lynchpin. Lynchpin, he's at every knife show. This guy probably has the most badass wood material you can get. His name is Martz. Dude is a fucking legend. And oh my god, look at that, man. It's another stabilized toasted maple, but the amount of activity and burl going on there, that's fucking wild, man. So if you guys don't know anything about wood, for a burl wood, it's basically kind of like this cancerous knot that's growing on this tree. It looks ugly as fuck. Like I'm sure you guys have gone to like a park or something like that and played some, you know, just running around playing soccer or whatnot, or whatever the fuck you play, touch football, ultimate frisbee, and you've probably seen some tree in the park and it's just had this gnarly looking like fucking elephantitis knot going on. And that ugly ass knot, if you were to cut that off that fucking tree, this cancerous knot, and cut out some scales of it, the grain structure looks like this. It's fucking gorgeous, man. It's excellent. And so this is maple. It's a nice hard American wood. America. And I'm really stoked about this. Stabilized. Cellulose structure's been filled up. It's gonna go on a fucking high-end knife right there, man. The wood, I feel like is not as durable as synthetic materials, but I don't know, man. People really like wood. People like wood materials and things like that, and they look great, man. I think they're awesome. I got this material here from my buddy Jeremy Spake. This is from Finland, of course. It's I think it's good. Forgive me, I'm gonna butcher the pronunciation. It's like a Masir birch, curly birch, and you pay extra for the extra curls and that these little squiggles in there, and it's just absolutely fucking gorgeous, man. I think by far this is my favorite wood because it's like the traditional wood for a puko, and I love pukos, man. Pukos are fucking sick. I don't make any pukos. I've kind of, I don't know. I haven't made any pukos just because like before I started making knives, like my really good friend Daniel Haramina, he made pukos, and I helped get him steel for pukos, and I promoted all that shit before I made knives, and I just feel like pukos were like his domain, and I felt like for me, I wanted to fuck with some high carbide steels that had a lot of wear resistance. And for wood carving knives, like a puko, because a puko is made for wood carving, you don't really need high carbide. You just need high matrix hardness. You would want something like a low carbide, softer carbide, iron carbide, steel. You just want it like 65 plus, and that's what makes a really good puko. So I don't know. It's pretty cool because if it wasn't for me, you guys out there, you wouldn't see CPM M4, you wouldn't see CPM 4V, you wouldn't see K390 in a puko. But you wouldn't. My name is not associated with that. I was the first person to send those steels over to Croatia for Daniel to make that shit. I get no credit for it sometimes. You know what I mean? Like you do feel sometimes like it's just your ego or whatnot. You're this shitty human being, but you sometimes you feel like, what the fuck? People don't realize like if it wasn't for me, you wouldn't see that stuff in a puko. And I see a lot of other puko makers. They've been able to make a good living, able to make knives out of Venetus 4 Extra, CPM 4V, or excuse me, Venetus 4 Extra as well, K390, etc. Some makers have actually used those steels, but they've used them at lower Rockwell hardnesses, which to me was like, what are you doing? The only point of using that steel was the fact that it can get harder, because you want a finer structured steel than that. You don't really need carbides to cut through wood. I mean, you just need a harder matrix and a polished edge to do that. So I don't know, whatever. But it's good shit. Are you fucking idiots? I'm gonna finish this beer. All we have is the quiet fucking shy fucking people in the comment section now. Nobody's talking. I'll drink this beer, and then once I finish this beer, we're done. So ask your questions while you fucking can. I'm gonna drink this beer and I'm gone. Fuck off. Any questions? Let me see in the comments. 23 people here. Nobody's saying shit. Rock and roll! You need to make a puko out of fixed blade. Nothing better for me, but I like to carve wood. I feel you, man. I was super into carving wood there for a while. It's gorgeous. Trump 2020. Fuck yeah. First Trump, I gotta say it, first Trump really pissed me. I just figured Trump was the lesser of two evils between Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton was definitely gonna be like George Orwell's 1987, where we were gonna be like enslaved by a bunch of liberal bullshit. But yeah, I don't like to talk about politics, but I don't know, man. It's really important for us to keep our Second Amendment right. because the Second Amendment is what allows us to keep our freedom. It's what allows me to make my fucking knives. Because if we let these liberal retards take over and basically deem everything free will and people who can determine anything that can be deemed as a weapon as something that's dangerous to the general public, pretty much you're going to be able to like ban fists. Pretty much people are going to like ban testosterone unless they need to mate and make more humans. So it's fucking ridiculous. I mean, someone needs to call that shit out. And Trump isn't liked by the Republicans. He's not liked by the fucking Democrats. So I just always felt he was just kind of a wild card, and he kind of stirred up the system that's just fucking laced with bureaucracy and a bunch of bullshit that all the founding fathers kind of basically warned us about. Now, listen, I'm brown. I'm obviously not white. And so I do understand some of those liberal agendas where they're basically like, well, if I were to travel back in time with my brown ass and I were to see the founding fathers, they'd be like Dave Chappelle says, nigger, go make me a sandwich, you know? So it's, our history is kind of fucked, but it is what it is. And I don't know, man. What can I say? And I think I'm voting for Trump 2020, man. What the fuck? Trump support in Oregon? Better not sleep at night. I don't know, man. I think if you were to work as an EMT and see how fucked Oregon is with some of these liberal agendas, maybe you'd think differently. Because it's not that I don't support people that are on a hard place in life, and any of us in life can end up homeless and fucked up and crazy, you know. Like they still don't even really understand how the brain works. And any of us can end up crazy at any point in our life. But Portland is a fucking shithole, man. Seriously. By trying to accommodate to all this bullshit, you just got homeless people pissing on business fronts and stuff like that. Listen, man, sometimes you need to call a spade and be like, nah, fuck you. Fuck all this shit. It doesn't work. But just because I don't support all of can I sleep in your driveway? Pretty fucking much, man. It's bullshit, you know? But at the same time, I don't agree with all of what Trump says, you know. Deporting just everybody, like, fuck off, man. You know, I'm brown. Like, give me a break here, you know. But at the same time, like, the American dream is to work hard for what you love, and I don't know, man. Originally, when they made this American dream, it was to be that all men were created equal, and that everybody had a fair chance in the system. That was something really new in the world at the time it was invented in 1776. Before that, we had monarchs and shit like that, and you could never talk shit about the people in rule. And so, while there's a lot of flaws with this American system, my father, you know, he taught me, you know, he was like, well, at least this place, at least America dares to at least pretend. At least America at least tries to do what it does. And I fucking love America, you know, and it's the best country ever. And people are fucking would give their fucking appendages just to come here and work as a janitor. And some of you assholes need to realize that. And some of these liberal agendas started off as really good things to really help equalize things for humanity here in the country because we have such a background of racism and bullshit. But at the same time, it's kind of lost its way. And unfortunately, it's turned into some bullshit itself. Some really Orwellian, like I said, 1984, whatever that fucking movie was called, where it was just like complete control. People are willing to relinquish their freedom for safety to the point where they don't realize that there are people who have an agenda to try to control the population. And it's just complete bullshit. I'm sorry. But gun control in this country, I realize people, it has the most noble agenda possible of keeping people safe from fucking people that want to hurt other people. But at the same time, they don't realize that what they were relinquishing by giving that stuff up is really fucking this country. So I will vote for the person that allows us to keep our freedom of speech and our Second Amendment, man. And I'm not voting for no fucking asshole that wants to take everything away that allows us to defend what we feel is right, as far as our freedom of speech and our fucking property and all that shit, dude. So the whole fucking idea with this country was to be balanced between Republican and Democratic parties, and these two parties were invented to keep us balanced. But never before has this country been more divided between being purely red or purely blue with that bullshit. So I don't know what to say, man. You know, it's definitely getting more and more divided. We'll see what happens, but you're not taking our goddamn guns away. I don't care if you're Democratic or you're fucking Republican. Guns are here to stay because that's what protects our fucking rights, man. And there are some fucking retards in this country that think that guns are weapons and causing the problem, and that knives are weapons and causing the problem, when it's really just a bunch of shitbags that are making bad decisions. Realistically, if you want to keep the world safe, you would remove free will. That's the only way you would do it. You would remove testosterone, except for mating purposes. If you want to go watch George Orwell's 1984 and live in the safest fucking society possible, that's what that would be like. Fucking, what is it, George Lucas's first movie, where it was like a bunch of fucking people living in a goddamn cube, and they, like, what was it, T something something 89 or whatever the fuck that movie was. Fuck all that shit. Freedom is dangerous. Being able to make your own decisions every day is fucking dangerous. Not having control of each person, we are individual conscious people and making our own decisions about everything we do every day, that's fucking dangerous. But at the same time, that's what freedom is. So fuck all that bullshit. You're not taking away our fucking guns, because if you take away our guns, you're trying to control us. You trying to control us, even with best intentions, is you taking away our fucking freedom. And people across the world don't understand that shit. That's what fucking America is, man. We're fucking free. That's what we fought the fucking British. That's what we fought all these fucking assholes. That's what we fought the right for civil rights, you know, for freedom between segregation and all that bullshit. You know, like, fuck all that shit. Keeping my fucking guns. I'll vote for whoever's gonna keep my fucking guns. I don't give a fuck who it is, because if I disagree with them and they try to pull some George Orwellian bullshit on me, I keep my guns. So come get me, motherfucker. You know? A lot of people say, like, oh, you're not going to be able to fight the U.S. Army, blah, 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 all this bullshit here. You're not going to be able to fight the U.S. Army. What do you think the Taliban's been doing for fucking 20 years, these fucking goat fucking motherfuckers? Over in Afghanistan with the world's most powerful military kicking their ass. People with guns are powerful. People with guns have a say in what the fuck happens. And you can look throughout the 1990s and all these points in history where the ATF and the FBI have tried to bust the balls of the common man, just trying to do common sense shit, and them telling the government to fuck off. I believe in the government, but at the same time, listen, man, the government shouldn't have so much power that they can fucking put us in a goddamn cell and tell us how to live our fucking lives, man. And that's unique about what America is that the rest of the world doesn't understand what America is, and how you can have so much defiance about what the government can do, but at the same time support the government and what they do. That's what fucking freedom is, man. And so I don't care if I piss off a lot of people here. You know, I realize I'm in a real blue state here and all that bullshit. I worked as an EMT. I had to care for all the people that a lot of people fucking said that they cared about and all this shit, and they supported policies to care for these fucking people, but basically abandoned these people. And the system is fucked, you know, as far as taking care of a lot of these homeless people that they say that they're trying to support. And it's really fucking up a lot of shit and turning this area into a real shithole, you know. So I don't care if I piss off people by being a little more conservative in how I feel about some things. But listen, man, making knives, I feel like knives are not weapons. A more liberal person feels like anything that you make that has a sharp edge is a weapon. Your fucking fist is a weapon. Your mind is a weapon. You know what I mean? The most dangerous thing is a person with a dangerous mind, not the tool. I don't make fighting knives. I'm not interested in making fighting knives. This channel's not about fighting knives. This channel's not about all that shit, any of that stuff, because that doesn't matter. The most dangerous thing is a person who with a dangerous mind, with a violent person. It's not about how sharp the knife is or that her, you know. To me, it's a huge turn off. It's a huge turn off to me when somebody is like, "Oh, I designed this knife for killing. You can hold it in this grip right here. It's designed for make slashing cuts like that." Listen, man. Somebody who's really dangerous, they can pick up a pencil and they can be fucking dangerous, man. It's not about the knife. It's fucking stupid. Regulating the guns and the weapons is not solving the problem. Human nature is fucked. People are just naturally inclined because they're animals and they're violent. And some people aren't born with all the opportunities or proper upbringing to fucking work properly in this society. It's nature versus nurture. So, I don't know. No scars anywhere. What do you mean? You don't see any scars on me, so it means everything I'm saying is full of bullshit. I don't know, man. That's fine. Yeah, knife fighting is fucking gay. I mean, to be honest, I don't mean to offend homosexual people or fucking knife fighting people, but I mean, I realize there's some people that are really good at it, like Michael Janich is really badass, and all these other people. But I don't know. I felt like there's people with guns out there that have, there's people that are really strategic with how they think. Yeah, I don't feel like the actual physical knife. I don't want to cater to that crowd with what I do because a knife is a tool. A knife is used for cutting stuff. It's used for putting food on your table. It's used for making big stuff, small stuff. That's all the knife is to me, and I'm just trying to make it cut really, really good. I'm not trying to make a fighting knife or anything. That's stupid, man. You'll find some people that are the weakest strategists and the weakest combative people ever are trying to buy some sort of tool to compensate for that. It doesn't work like that. The most dangerous person is a dangerous mind. And that person is more dangerous with a pencil than you are if you never practice with a knife and do all that warrior type training with the best knife in the world. You can buy one of my knives that are designed. If I design fighting knives, you can buy one of those and you can try to fight with it. Somebody who's just has more violence of action, has a more aggressive OODA loop, which is John Boyd. He made this thing where it's like OODA loop, where it's like observe, orient, decide, act. Whoever's making decisions faster throughout this loop is going to be the more kick-ass person. So it'd be egregious for me to try to design something that's going to compensate for your lack of warrior type skill. This is stupid. I just felt like it was dumb as fuck to try to make some type of fucking warrior knife because it's just about the warrior, really. It's not about the tool. It's a warrior, man. So, nah. I mean, you don't really want to make an apprentice for what you do because you don't want to muddy the water. You're just making competition for yourself, and you have a vision that's so pure that you just want it. It has to be executed by you, and so that's what you want to focus on. And you want to get your customer and your fan base something that you have come out of your mind that doesn't exist. And so that's why when you're a custom knife maker, you're alone. You're by yourself. Adding another person, you're not a customer. You're closer to mid tech. So that's how I feel about that. It's whatever. People can disagree, but custom knife maker, you're buying that maker's knife. You're buying that person's knife, what they believe in, how they feel about stuff, the blood, sweat, and tears they put into that knife. You're buying that. So that's where that comes from. I can hire somebody or this and that, but I'd have to get them motivated to do what I like to do. And really what is motivating them to do what they do is that they're going to take what I teach them and they're going to do their own thing. So you really just want to be on your own. but unfortunately you can't make as many knives, so the price has to be high. But I think that's really the best way to get the vision that you have for your knife out to the public. Is if you're a one man operation and you get that shit done the way you like. Because the more people you have involved in the process, the more the waters are muddied with different opinions and thoughts about how something should be the best. And I always like the idea of being a solo operation, but I'm not really a loner. I'm a team oriented person, but so it's been very I don't know. It's been a lot of suffering to do what I do with making knives because I'm not an antisocial person. I think some knife makers are really good at what they do because they're very antisocial, but I'm not antisocial. That's why I share so much with you guys on YouTube and stuff like that. But I don't know. I find the more I do this by myself, the more antisocial I become. So it's just something that just happened. You just transform as a person when you're making knives by yourself, and you have a vision that's so clear in your head, and it's really difficult to explain to other people, and you have to follow through with it. It's some sort of weird desire and life goal that you have deep in your heart, and it's difficult to translate to other people. So you don't really want an apprentice or anything like that. So, not really that interested. Because if you're looking for an apprentice, I don't know. They have the technology now where you can water jet cut, you can CNC, you can do all that shit. You can mass production heat treat. What's separating you from being the vision you started with, where you're trying to make the highest end custom knife in the world, where you spend every detail to let's maximize production and profit margin. So it kind of muddies the waters, I felt like. One more question and I'm fucking done. I'm gonna go take a piss. I'm gonna end this live feed. Why would you not at least make one version of what you think would be why would you not at least make one version of what you think a bushcraft knife should be? It would pull money in for you and more expensive knives, and you can add your changes to the bushcraft knife slowly. Because the highest end steels are kind of the antithesis for bushcraft. You would never use something like Rex 121 for bushcraft. The highest end bushcraft knife is about geometry and hardness because wood carving relies on cleaving and displacing matter. It does not rely on draw cutting and slicing. And so you would leave behind a huge aspect that's not being explored and utilized with your knowledge and skills to focus on a bushcraft type knife. So I haven't been very passionate about it. I have respect for people that really got me into custom knife making, like Melanika. He makes a goddamn good bushcraft knife. I didn't want to disrespect people like that either. And so I felt a hunting knife was more of a challenge of my skills and talent and what I know to make with high carbide volume steels at low geometry than a bushcraft knife, which it needed to have a little bit of geometry behind the edge to help push cut and separate wood. And it relied more on cleaving than slicing. And so it needed a hard matrix with lower carbide volume, honestly, to perform the best for bushcraft, but a little bit of durability for batoning and things like that of that nature, even though technically you need an axe for that. The ultimate bushcraft setup, let's be realistic. There's no one tool option for bushcraft. One tool option is compromise. And you can, for people that know me now and know me 5 years ago, you'll realize that I was a pretty avid bushcrafter. I know what the fuck I'm talking about. But one tool option is always a compromise. The best bushcraft setup is a little tiny pocket folding saw, 19 inch or 23 inch and a half axe handle with a 2 pound or 2.5 pound head, and a folding knife, or excuse me, a fixed blade knife for wood carving with a Scandinavian or Puko type rhomboid type geometry blade with zero grinding and a small micro bevel to take off the burr, about 3.5 inches in length, on the blade. That's the best bushcraft setup you can do. If you needed just one tool to do everything, I understand why you would want that, just because to simplify your setup, but that would be the worst at everything you can do. Uh, and so I felt like I wanted to challenge my knowledge of geometry, metallurgy, heat treat, sharpening ability, and stuff like that. That's why I preferred to make uh, hunting knives, very thin geometry. These knives aren't necessarily made for bushcraft because they're flat ground. They don't really force apart the wood and stuff like that. I'm a huge proponent of an axe. I didn't like the survival knife one tool option because I felt like if you were more skilled with an axe, you should be able to use that for your rough use. And you should use a 3.5 inch to 3.75 inch blade to do everything you need for bushcraft type use. And if you need to break apart a piece of wood, you need a folding saw. You know, I did a lot of hiking when I was an EMT. I was on the reach and treat team with American Medical Response. So we responded to calls in the Mount Hood. We practiced a lot of different stuff, but realistically, like time is a factor, efficiency is a factor. Like we didn't necessarily do any bushcraft type stuff. Let's be real. But I was pretty geeked out on it when I was doing that kind of stuff at that time in my life. And the 3 tool option was superior to having one survival knife, to be honest. But realistically, I mean, if you found yourself in a survival type situation, it was more about your skills as a survivalist than your knife skills. So seemed to like I like preferred kitchen knife skills because I felt like that was a more expression of true knife skill. Kind of like how a fighter pilot is a more truest expression of warrior type fighting between man versus man type things, or boxing, boxer versus boxer, and then like an infantry soldier versus infantry soldier. Like it is just the most truest expression of combat. Chef knife, cutting knife, kitchen knife skills were the most truest expression of cutting. And so I felt like hunting knives were the most truest expression of higher carbide wear resistant steels, which I felt like was more challenge, lower geometry, things like that. A kind of a nice blend between bushcraft and kitchen knife skills, but for animal processing. And so that's why I fell into place with hunting type knives. And as well as the fact I really like the heritage and tradition, classic Americana of putting meat on your table, shooting the animal, processing that wild meat, putting it in your freezer, feeding your family. I really like that idea of how that shit worked. So that's why I've steered away from bushcraft, steered more towards hunting type knives, kitchen type knives, and I'm less concerned about bushcraft, just because I felt like the more truer expression of my skills and talent were more hunting and culinary type knives than bushcraft type knives, which were lower alloy, higher hardness, proper geometry to help spread and separate the wood. But out of respect to some of the people that really got me into more of the knife making stuff, I felt like people like Daniel Haramina, uh, Melanika. If you want a bushcraft type knife, go to him. You know, go buy a Puko from him. Go buy a Liku from him. So I like that. That's the last question. Fuck off! I'm going to go take a piss. Peace out.